Greetings, my fellow Americans. This is your President, Samuel Ronan speaking, and today we are back with a whole new week of, well, our shenanigans in our great country, the United States of America. And we have a lot to cover, as always. Hello, Anna. Thank you for making it. Thank you all for making it. Like I said, in just the past 7 days alone, arguably the 5 days alone, since we usually do recap Thursdays, this administration is blatantly admitting to acts of corruption, namely with implementing martial law in 20 states, engaging in voter suppression tactics by denying funding unless states capitulate to DHS demands. We also have reports that the president himself spent $100 million in, I guess they call it bonds when you just buy random stocks and stuff, and has profited $2.4 billion since taking office, which is obviously insider trading and exceedingly illegal. We also have Ghislaine Maxwell claiming that the only thing Trump ever did at these parties was read the Bible and talk to clients, which would still make him an accessory to being there when these things were happening, which makes him still a criminal and a pedophile, if for no other reason than not doing anything about it. So we have an astronomical amount of things to cover from that side alone. What do we got? Breaking news. Tay-Tay and Trey are engaged, so it's all good. Hassan is covering that right now. You're right. That is extremely breaking news for the citizens of the United States of America, the American people, the 60% who are living in poverty, and the fact that BlackRock is buying up rental property throughout the country to extort people of more of their hard-earned income. We will not be covering Tay-Tay and Trey because, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. That's not politics, but thank you for the the quip, nevertheless, Anna. I could feel the sarcasm oozing from it. So, I hope I set the stage pretty well for what we're going to be dealing with. As you can see, we're starting off with the keffiyeh and the beret. I honestly think the beret kind of brings it together. Maybe when I ever get a hold of a real Che Guevara beret, we'll wear that instead. But I think we got a little bit of something going on here, and maybe I know. See, I'm thinking the cigars that I smoke are a bit thicker than the ones Che smoked, because he can just keep it in his lip, but this one's too big to do that. It would fall out if I tried. That being said, Americano versus, gorilla. All right. So, let's get to the videos here. Again, number one, like I said, I wasn't joking about the profiting. And then we got, Trump's health and so on and so forth, right? Let's start off right off the top.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Off the presidency. That's the headline of an exhaustive new investigation published by the New Yorker magazine. In the piece...
You know what's crazy? Every time I see the New Yorker as the thing, I always think the New Yorker is supposed to be a tabloid, but it's actually, the New Yorker is actually a legitimate publication, and they have done research since 2017 to find out how much the Trump has profited off of the administration.
Journalist David Kirkpatrick writes, quote, "Many payments now flowing to Trump, his wife, and his children and their spouses would be unimaginable without his presidencies. A $2 billion investment from a fund controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince, a luxury jet from the Emir of Qatar, profits from at least 5 different ventures peddling crypto, fees from an exclusive club stocked with cabinet officials and named executive branch."
Wow.
In March,
that's on the nose.
Forbes estimated that Trump's net worth had more than doubled over a year to $5 billion. And a few months later, the New York Times estimated Trump's wealth had grown to $10 billion. But these estimates and others did not attempt to look at how exactly his fortune is growing. David Kirkpatrick writes, quote, although the notion that Trump is making colossal sums off the presidency has become commonplace, nobody could tell me how much he's made. I decided to attempt to tally up just how much Trump and his immediate family have pocketed off his time in the White House.
Now, let's be very clear. Let's be very clear about something. Making any amount of money from being in the White House other than your $400,000 a year annual salary is in violation of the emoluments clause. It is literally illegal. It's in the, you know what? Don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. It's in the U.S. Constitution. That's where the emoluments clause comes from. Article 1, Section 9. And let's see if we can find, like, the Wikipedia for it. Just so y'all don't think I'm just making this stuff up. So, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7. The President shall, at stated times, receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emolument, or emolument. Oh, I guess I've been saying this wrong this whole time. Emolument, whatever, from the United States or any of them. To preserve the President's independence from Congress and state governments, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 provides that Congress may not increase or decrease the compensation during the term in office, and further bars the President from receiving any other emolument beyond a fixed salary from the United States or any of them. Consequently, Congress cannot use its control over the President's salary to influence him. The provision accordingly reinforces the separation of powers. Now, this is from the Constitution Annotated, Analysis and Interpretation of the U.S. Constitution from constitution.congress.gov. So this is the source, right? And it refers to, it quotes several different things in the footnotes there. Modeled after similar provisions in the state constitutions. Explained that domestic emoluments clause was intended to isolate the president from potentially corrupting congressional influence. Because the salary is fixed once for all each term, Hamilton commented Congress can neither weaken his fortitude by operating on his necessities, nor corrupt his integrity by appealing to his avarice. Similarly, Hamilton explained that because neither the Union nor any of its members will be at liberty to give any other emolument, the president will have no pecuniary inducement to renounce or desert the independence intended for him by the Constitution. Now, this has clearly been expanded to include any additional compensation, right? So that's the emoluments clause. Also, Article 1, Section 9 is another key important one. Let's see if we can browse the Constitution. Article 1, Section... Why is it not letting me scroll all the way down here on this stupid webpage? All right, so hold on a second. It's Section 9, including the president from accepting any... Okay, trying to find it in the website here, but it was being weird. Let's go to Section 9. It doesn't specify where. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. And then the courts have rarely substantively analyzed or interpreted the foreign emoluments clause during the administration of Trump. Literally, that's the one that it has to reference. A number of private parties, state attorney generals, and members of Congress sued the president based on alleged violations of both the foreign and domestic emoluments clause, which is Article 3, Section 1, 7. Okay, so that was the other one I was looking for. Article 3, Section 1. Article 3, Clause 7. Or Section 7. Hold on. Article 3. Clause. Where's the damn Clause 7? Because this says court ruling. So where's the damn... That was clearly not it. Hold on. Where did it go? Section 1, Clause 7.1. Why isn't it going there? Alright. Sorry. Oh, I can't read because it was Article 2. So anyway. Sorry. We already read number 2. Tylo. Hello. Sorry. I was trying to navigate this stupid document here. The stupid website about the document, the Constitution, which is not stupid. Emoluments. Okay, how do you pronounce emoluments? Emoluments. Well, I always threw in an extra M there. My bad, folks. I ain't that there literate. Emoluments? Hell. It's all good. It's all good. The point is, this administration is very clearly profiting off of the presidency this term and the previous term, which is blatantly against the law. Now, evidently, it just has never been necessary to pursue or go after because most other presidents, I don't think even Andrew Jackson, as much of a son of a bitch as he was, ever toyed with that. They just didn't do that. Like, they did a bunch of heinous shit, but they didn't ever just straight up profit from the office of the presidency. And again, it's not as if this is speculation. This was from the Constitution. All right, I might not know how to say emoluments, anemone, but that's the thing that he's violating. And you know what? I don't understand how this is even debatable. If his net worth doubled in the 8 months that he's been in the presidency, he's accepted the jet and this, that, and the other. Even if Congress approved it, which is arguably what did happen for the jet, it doesn't change the fact that he was receiving gifts, which in of itself is illegal and has been unprecedented throughout all of our nation's history. So, if we don't want to look at his actions in terms of his executive orders, conflating the Constitution generally, I mean, there are so many individual things that he has done that is against the law, that is worthy of impeachment, that is worthy of removal from office, prosecution, and sentencing. So I don't understand why this is even a debate. And then you have Gavin Newsom just having his social media team typing in all caps, going, "Yeah, swag, let's go, slay. You showed him who's boss," and it's like, bruh, why aren't you leading the actual charge to imprison and prosecute this administration fully? That I don't understand. Emoluments. There we go. Thank you all for your input to help me sound literate. It was unheard of at the time not being a total bastard, though that was a common practice. Yeah, being a total bastard, common. Being just blatantly corrupt, though, yikes. Well, and the worst part about Gavin is that he's not a good person. He led the charge in California against homelessness encampments and went on a photo session where he was showing or being shown to dismantle and trash and do whatever else the encampments. Like, he did photo ops proving how much of an evil piece of shit he is. And people are trying to praise him because he's talking with the same level of ignorance as Trump. It's insane. Oh, yes. Also, welcome, pop culture. All right. So, Man, I need to work on my fucking... Oh, shit, and I forgot that this microphone is way too damn close. I need to work on my posture because my knee cannot take this. Alright. Let's see what else is going on in this 15-minute
Well, David Kirkpatrick joins us now in our New York studio. Welcome to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. Explain how you arrived at the number and what are the... And
explain why you chose to go with those
is the period of time that he has made this money.
Well, what's important here is that I'm trying to be fair to the president. I'm not out to get Trump here. I went through and looked at all the sources of income, the income streams flowing into the Trump organization, the president and his family, and I asked, is this money that he would have made absent the presidency? Because he's got hotels, he's got golf courses. Sometimes people go there just to play golf or rent a hotel room. We're not talking about that. So I only wanted to look at money that he has made because he is or has been in the White House. And then I tried to ask as best I could, what is each one of those things worth? And that's how I came up with 3.4
billion. It was 3.4. That's the number I thought it was.
What I hope will make this report credible, and the reason I urge people to read it is that I've tried as best I can to be fair. I've shown all my work, and people can make their own conclusions.
Okay.
And David,
buddy,
could you talk about some
listen,
of the...
You don't need to be fair. Your job as a journalist isn't necessarily to be fair. It is, however, to be honest and truthful and to report on the things that are happening, right? There are no two sides to this. There is, he profited while being in the presidency. Here's the numbers. Get fucked. You should be in prison. Trying to be gentle about it like, well, this is what I found out. Do with this information what you will. That's not journalism. That's not journalism. That is aiding and abetting. All you're doing is saying, we have this information, this conclusive evidence, but we're not going to do anything with it. We're just letting you know that it exists. You can choose to do with that information what you will. Like, no, journalism is supposed to hold people's feet to the fire. Mine too. Like, I'm wearing a cuffia. I have my prop rifle. I got the cigar, so that's smoking and tobacco. Like, hold me to the fucking fire. The fact that I swear. The fact that I'm calling for his arrest and execution. Hold me accountable for that so I can back it up. Or be held accountable. But all the news and all the media, all they're doing is saying what Trump is doing is wrong, it's bad, it's illegal, but he's the president and his party is supporting him and the Democrats aren't doing anything about it because they're brave soldiers in the war against leftism. So we're just going to talk about it. Like, that's not what the First Amendment guaranteeing journalists the right to the free press was intended for. It was intended for the Watergate scandal. It was intended for the My Lai massacre, reporting on it and holding those pieces of shit accountable. It was for highlighting the Kent State massacre, where National Guardsmen murdered 4 students in Ohio, right? About Ruby Bridges being able to report that she was being terrorized by the white community in Alabama after they were ordered to desegregate. Like, and it's not even just ancient, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago history that needs to be accurately reported on. It's also modern times. Why isn't Bush being scrutinized for his crimes in 9/11, in the war in Afghanistan? What about Obama? Expanding ICE. Where is the exposés showing that Obama was the reason why Trump can detain people indefinitely? Where's the expose? Right? There are crimes happening right now. The Biden administration admitted after the fact that they didn't lift a single fucking finger to stop Israel committing genocide against Palestine. Where's the expose on that? Again, this was last fucking year. You're not even accurately reporting on Elon Musk's Nazi behavior, the fact that he gutted the entire administration without any legal justification to do so, the fact that Trump is pushing white supremacy, terrorizing 1/5 of the population. I mean, the list goes on with the cruelty and the corruption. And all journalism is like, wow, Trump did another thing. This is the thing that Trump did, and this is what the Democrats are doing about it, which amounts to nothing. More at 11. Like, no. Trump did this thing. It is highly illegal, and people should be rioting in the streets. That's what journalism is. Everything else is propaganda. If there's a crime being committed by the government, especially by the president, and you do anything other than condemn it and call for action, that is propaganda. And when the guillotines get rolled out, your heads are going into them as well. I guarantee it. In The Simpsons, Frank Grimes got so fed up that he snapped and said he's Homer Simpson. Gavin's trying the same thing. I am acting like this president give me a political promotion. Yeah, well, if that really worked, I mean, you know. And he's no warrior of the ones getting effed off by the system. Exactly. It's another reason why, like, AOC and Bernie Sanders are no longer being invited to actual left-leaning protests, such as pro-Palestine events. They're not getting invited to that because they're not about it. And they're going to try and co-opt it and turn it into a pro-Democrat thing, which has proven itself outright to not be pro-Palestine. I want all the journalists, the ones who don't have their heads up his behind, to ask him the tough questions, like the one who asked, what about the high crime red states? Won't you send the National Guard there? Exactly. Except the answer from Trump was, well, it's not, it exists, but it's not that many. It's like, fact check them, hold them accountable, and admit to the fact, like force them to admit to it. And that's the thing. They're so afraid of repercussions and retaliation, then doesn't that undermine the real freed press in the first place? If you're worried about being retaliated against by the very people you are reporting on, then you don't have a free press. Because a free press is immune to the retaliation. Hence, it's being free. But if it can be retaliated against, or if the leadership will capitulate to threats, then it's not free. It's just, that's by definition. We've been doomed since at least as far back as 2001, when suspending freedom was deemed necessary, with constant surveillance and taking off your shoes at the airport. No, I don't disagree that the Patriot Act was definitely a very large goose step in the wrong direction. I divorced my future wife, AOC, and didn't invite her to the divorce proceedings. Hey, I think we all had a little bit of a crush on A1C at one time, but then she started opening her mouth and revealing her true colors, so... Frank Grimes, excellent analysis. That seems spot on. Yeah, no, it's... I mean, it is what it is. Like, we don't have people that are fighting back that are in any sort of way nationally recognized. And that's the issue. It's another reason why we're running for Congress. Yes, this is going to be the future, but that's going to be 2029 unless things go really well for us for the congressional run. But that being said, we have to build the platform and we have to build the movement and we have to make sure that people are aware that there is at least somebody willing to fight at the national stage against this tyrant or wannabe tyrant. Again, you'd have to be intimidating to be a tyrant, and he's not. What he has is a bunch of boot-licking scum and sycophants at his beck and call. Undermine them enough, make it very difficult for them to operate, and all of that bootlicking is just going to give them a bad taste of leather in their mouth. So, I don't think we need to watch all 15 minutes of this. I think we kind of covered 15 minutes worth of that subject.
Ladies, listen up. The video showing the pink salt trick that melts belly fat while you sleep has already passed.
To some breaking news out of Bibb County.
All 8 suspects in the Bibb County child sex investigation arrived at the Bibb County courthouse for various hearings. The case, which allegedly involves an underground bunker. What did we not? I thought we covered this back when it first broke, but let's see what's going on with that.
Fourth arrest has been made in connection to the ongoing child sex abuse investigation involving an underground bunker. ABC 3340's Gracie Johnson joins us now with more on the charges.
Muriel, the Bibb County District Attorney's Office confirms to me that Timothy St. John was taken into custody today. He's now facing a long list of charges, and officials say Some of the alleged acts happened inside the same bunker that's been at the center of a months-long investigation. Now, this is
okay, so we must have covered
3340's
it
drone
because
footage
it's a month-long
of that bunker.
investigation.
Now, according to the DA's office, St. John is charged with rape, sodomy, human trafficking, kidnapping, bestiality, and cruelty to animals. This comes after 3 men were previously arrested as part of the same investigation.
Damn.
All 3 of those men face multiple charges as well, including rape, sodomy, human trafficking, and kidnapping. Again, investigators allege...
Imagine that. And of course, a Hispanic man got involved in it too, just to help aid and abet the administration for its, war on Hispanic people. So you know what? If you're a scumbag, like if you're an actual just waste of carbon and oxygen, but you happen to be Hispanic or black or Asian or Muslim or queer or something, right? Do us all a favor. Do us all a favor and stop, for one, and then turn yourself in. Just turn yourself in, because your ongoing criminal activities is only going to feed the fire of bigotry, racism, and discrimination in this country against varying demographics. So if you're one of the demographics that are currently being targeted by this administration and you're part of the fucking problem, do us all a favor and either redact yourself or turn yourself in. Please. Because the innocent men, women, and children that will suffer, that will possibly die or face even worse outcomes, because yes, death is not the worst thing that can happen to a human being, because of your atrocities, will be on your head and will be laid at your feet. And I don't think you want to live with that on top of the other crimes that you're already committing. So that's my PSA. That is my request. If you're a scumbag that happens to be part of the demographics that are currently being targeted, redact yourself or turn yourself in. These clowns cause so much chaos and then tell us the result of their chaos causing is to mess with the Constitution, and then we get what we get today because of it. And now we have the federalization of ending cashless bail, a violation of the 10th Amendment. Also, it's ghoulish to even expect first-time offenders to pay to get out of prison on bail. Well, and that's also true. Like, the bail system has been weaponized throughout American history, although that has nothing to do with this video. It's the simple fact that anything to abuse people, anything to abuse the impoverished, is what the Constitution was intended to prevent. And the fact that the criminal justice system continuously recycles financial consequences on top of criminal prosecution, on top of financial consequences, to keep poor people poor and within the judicial system is part of the fucking problem. I just wanted to point out that no one involved was undocumented or trans or a drag queen. No, you're absolutely right. That's the main point I was making. But they're going to look at Andres Trejo Velasquez and be like, see, look, that's a Hispanic man who committed these atrocities. And he isn't an immigrant. He's probably straight up an American citizen, born and raised. But that's going to not be what is mentioned in the news once this gets a hold in the alt-right sphere. So I guess we will cover this as more things happen. But yeah, Bibb County has some psychopaths in it. Exactly. That's the only thing that is going to be said about it. And it looks like my mouse died on me. That's not great. I don't know why my mouse loses batteries so quickly. What the hell? You know, really? I guess it wouldn't be a stream if there wasn't any technical difficulties, right? What the fuck is going on? All 3 batteries cannot be bad. And they aren't all 3 bad. See, it's that shit. So, apparently even Razer mice are becoming garbage now. You know, you try and stick with a product and a company because they have historically been good, and then they just fucking disappoint you. Which takes us to the economics crisis that we are dealing with. This administration is trying to commit fascism, right? The merger of corporation and state. Now, how does fascism differ from communism, which is, communism is state-owned industry. The state owns the entire means of production, all of it. So what's the difference between fascism, which also controls the means of production? Well, it's because under fascism, the capitalists still control everything. It's just now the state also is part of that process, meaning the corporations are now influencing the government and are becoming one and the same. When board members and CEOs can dictate policy, and foreign policy for that matter, that's fascism. When it's just the state dictating, industry policy and whatever other policy, and CEOs and landlords and all that shit doesn't exist, that's communism. Socialism is when people own the means of production and the state deals with it. That's I don't know that have there ever been truly socialist nations? Because by that definition, I don't think there ever have been. Socialist countries in history. Now, there's going to be countries that claim they're socialist, but I don't believe, because China was communist, Soviet Union was communist. See, that's the problem. Everything claims that these socialist countries were socialist, and they're not. Socialist governments were formed at different times in different parts of the world. Blah, blah, blah. Issues of definition. It is doubtful that we can talk of a generic socialism beyond the fact that each country is characterized by the abolition of private ownership and the concentration of economic resources in the hands of the state, and by the monopolization of political power in the hands of a vanguard party, which is by definition communism. So these articles, Wikipedia, the ScienceDirect.com, AI, which derives its information from such, they all claim that communism is in fact socialism, and that's not the case. Socialism is people owning shit. So, at a formal level, if it is accepted that these were real existing societies, then their cities were by definition socialist cities, which again is not true. I think the only time humanity has ever experienced socialism was when we were still tribes, when we were still hunters and gatherers, literally controlling the means of production because we were the only ones that could do it. You only had so many hunters, you had only so many weavers, you had only so many gatherers. That's what they did. Hence, nobody was in control of dictating that other than maybe the tribal elder being like, hey, let's make sure we distribute all this. So we haven't actually had socialism on Earth as defined. That being said, fascism is communism, except instead of everybody having their needs met. I can't talk today, apparently. Fascism is when corporations control the government and, by extension, your material conditions. And they will also govern their own regulations, their own policies, their own trade agreements with foreign powers and foreign governments and foreign industries. And they will also profit off of those decisions, as well as the direct decision-making of being, elected or part of the government. So, what we have, TLDR, is this administration blatantly, desperately trying to implement true fascism in the United States of America, and his sycophants saying that, yes, with Intel, we're going to use that as the example to bring others on board to share the profits. Now, the one thing to take away from this is that Trump himself cannot currently benefit from that trade other than if he bought stock in those companies. But as president, he doesn't see any of that 10% profit sharing with the government until it's actually fascism. And then he becomes il duce. And then he says, well, I also get 1% of the 10% of the whatever percent, right? So that's where we're heading, folks. And I know I got to learn of a fancier, hipper, punchier way of saying that. So hold on. Let's see if I can say it with the cigar. Trump is implementing fascism before our very eyes by forcing corporations to pay 10% to the federal government and forcing additional corporations to do the same so that eventually he can take a direct slice of that pie as president after he has completely shredded the entire Constitution. All right, that's the TLDR of all this. And it won't stop these ghouls from hijacking reality to pass it on. Well, look at the. Too bad you weren't born white and with a political silver spoon in your mouth. Even by relation, we would have protected you. They say socialism is control over you, but they're describing the current system. Right. They're always... What is that word called? They're always projecting. There are only like 5 countries who even claim to be socialist or communist. Right. And they are not socialist. At most, they're communist. At best, they're communist. But it's probably communism / whatever. They conflate communism and socialism as both wanting control over you. Then I wonder how the hell they passed their history in government classes with that thinking. That's the thing. They didn't, nor do they care. That's not the point. For the fascist, knowledge isn't power. It's control. To determine what is knowledge, right? I mean, we've all read this book. And in this book, you rewrite the history every single week. Yeah, we've never had a country in which the workers control the means of production, so we've never had socialism. We've only had elements of socialism. And fun fact, universal health care, education, wages, insurance, utilities, transportation, the military, for all intents and purposes, all of that is, in fact, socialism. In fact, the closest thing that any country has ever come to socialism in practice is their various militaries, because the soldier gains access to whatever it is they need in order to perform their duties, whether that's healthcare, housing, food, shelter, training, education, access to resources, utilities, right? The soldier, the military member, the service member, has access to anything and everything under the sun at no expense to them. So realistically, if we wanted socialism in the world, the fastest way to do that is to make everybody become part of the military. That would be the fastest way to do it. But then you have a military state, and that has its own problems. Even if it is socialist, you then have the severe hierarchies involved in the military, which is arguably where the socialism ends. You have a socialism economic structure, right? You are enlisted, whether E1 to O10, right? Everybody within the military gains access to all the same things. They get paid differently, and they might have nicer shit. But everybody gains access to everything. But there's still a stringent hierarchy, and it is top-down, unilaterally. So the military is actually an example of a socialist military dictatorship. But socialist. Which goes to show that any of the isms or ists can always be corrupted or manipulated or abused in some way, form, or fashion. Because if the military is the perfect example of socialism, it is also the perfect example of a dictatorship. Right? You disobey orders, bang. You disobey orders, go to the brig. You're done. Well, it wasn't a lawful order. Well, I say what's lawful, and in times of war, my word is law. But what about the Geneva Conventions? Well, we're no longer a part of the Geneva Conventions because I fucking said so. Dictatorship, right? Authoritarianism. Whatever you want to call it, right? And then, of course, the military, because it's the actual, military. So you can militarize communism, capitalism, or socialism. When you militarize communism, well, it could still very well be communism. But when you militarize capitalism, it becomes fascism, right? So it just... The main takeaway, the main point I'm trying to make, folks, is that socialism isn't perfect in of itself, but it does exist in small parts of the world, namely the military, and that if we want socialism that's actually utopian, we are going to have to get rid of capitalism altogether, and we're going to have to hold the state accountable. Communism is just as corruptible as capitalism. To be fair, so is socialism, because there's still going to have to be somebody in charge. Even at the lowest level, even if you got rid of all of the hierarchies involved, a worker is still going to need direction from somebody on what work needs doing, and somebody needs to compile that information about the work that is needed for society to function, right? So you have at least 2 layers of leadership, even in the most perfect utopian socialist administration that you could ever picture. You would have workers, one layer of leadership directing what that work is, and one layer of leadership determining broadly what the work is. What the work is, how to distribute the work, and the workforce. Right? So you would need at least 3 levels in socialism. And folks that don't believe that's true are deluding yourselves. Let's see. Actually, oh wait, no, I already read that. For one country, 1 million progressives are accused of being communists and socialists here like Zoran. Yeah, we've never had a country in which the workers control the means. Oh, that was the elements, yep. This president thinks people want a dictator because he's accused of being a dictator, and he said a dictator wouldn't stop crime. Right, and that's why I bring up the whole fascism thing and the emoluments clause, and all this other stuff, because fundamentally, all he has to do to achieve dictator status is to continue doing exactly what he's doing. Ruling, not leading, ruling through executive order, and nobody's stopping him. Because there comes a point of no return where the courts are ineffective, he's already using the military as his own hit squad, and the military isn't refusing his orders. They should be. They should be, but they're not. So at best, what we can see happening over this next few months, couple of years, is maybe military leadership breaking away from this administration and causing a schism. But then that's just civil war. And civil war is going to benefit fucking nobody. So, all of that to say, calling yourself a dictator and saying, well, maybe people want a dictator, while doing dictator things and breaking the law and the Constitution, should be a home run, hook, line, and sinker opportunity to impeach the motherfucker. And the fact that that is not what is happening is insane. Those socialist plows cleaning our streets when it snows. Right. Or that socialist fire department. Hell, even police is technically socialism, even if they are being used as an abusive wing of the state. The rich are enjoying socialism and then demonize it at the same time. Well, that's the point. The rich want to be in control, but they don't want to have to suffer. Which is, again, you can call it socialism, but really it's corporatism. I mean, it is just capitalism, right? Because at the end of the day, capitalists are who control society. And why would a capitalist want to share society with those that do the work, who do not have capital? Do you see where I'm going with this? It's not even that capitalists enjoy socialism. Capitalists are enjoying capitalism because they're the ones with all the capital, right? And that's part of our conversation that we really need to work on when it comes to messaging. It's not socialism for the rich and bootstraps capitalism for the poor. It's capitalism for the rich and slavery for the poor. Period. Dot. That's the definition. Capitalism works quite fucking well if you have capital. And it doesn't even matter how much capital you have. If you have any capital at all, capitalism works for you. If you buy the house, if you buy the car, if you buy the nice things, if you go to work, keep your head down and just listen and obey, you will work your way up. How do you think managers got to where they are? It wasn't because they were good at their fucking jobs. We all can attest to that. No, it's because they kept their head down. They obeyed capitalism. They obeyed the capital, they adhered to the capital, and they were rewarded. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to become rich and being able to live a life of luxury. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying anyone who adheres to capitalism can enjoy capitalism, right? If I wasn't doing politics and if we weren't dealing with fascism as far back as from when I first realized it, let's be clear, 2013, I would still be playing video games on my nice monitor with my nice computer, maybe with a girlfriend, a wife, a dog, a picket fence. Like, I would probably still be in the military. In Europe, probably. I'd probably be smoking real Cubans, drinking German beer. Like, let's be honest. I could afford nice things because in the military, they pay you enough to get nice things. Enough to make you forget that you're, committing atrocities. But if you see past the immediate thing, and you look past the thing, you realize it's all a veneer. It's all a veneer. It's all manipulation and control. Because the actual freedom within capitalism is only experienced by the 1%. And even more, anymore, nowadays, it's not even the 1%. Because remember, 1% includes people who only make $400,000 a year. Let's actually do the Google thing real quick. Top 1% of earners in America make what at a minimum? I believe, it's gone up. It's gone up significantly. So it used to be if you made $400,000 a year, you were part of the 1%. Now, it's $794,129 annually. You have to make nearly $800,000 a year to be considered part of the 1% now. And how many people does that include? Jesus Christ. That's not many. I know that. How many people in America? Well, I guess if it's 1%, then that would be 3 million, right? 3 million. Well, I guess if you consider it's just the workforce, then 1.5 million. So, okay. But I'll just Google it just to, It's got to be 1.5 million, though. Hence 1% of the population, right? Yeah. So it's not giving us a number here, but other than to say 1%. This figure represents a very small percentage of the total workforce, with some data indicating it's approximately 0.79% of all jobs. So, okay, let's just do total workforce in America. Well, it went up 170 million. All right, so 1.7 million people make 800,000 or more, and that's considered the 1% now. And sure, that number will continue. So that 1% will continue to get richer, and that wealth gap will continue to increase, right? To the point where, if you want to truly be considered a winner in capitalism, it's going to very quickly become that you have to have at least $1 million a year. Like, that is an unachievable. That means if you even made an astronomical sum of money, $1,000 a day, $365,000 a year. And the closest I ever came to that was 560. And I did that for about 3 months. And I was rocking it. But it was a contract. And anyway. Even if you made $1,000 a day or an annual salary of $365,000 a year, you'd be making less than half of what you need in order to be in the 1%. And I know everybody who is watching this now or will be watching this in the future would salivating at the thought of making $365,000 a year. And let's just say that was after taxes money, which would mean your gross income would be closer to $500,000. People cannot even fathom that much money. That's what, $30,000 a month take home pay? $30,000. What would you even do with $30,000 a month? And that's not even the 1%. You're not even the 1% at that point. Even at $60,000 a month take-home pay, you would barely be in the 1%. You could buy, what? What's a $60,000 car? Like a Mustang, I think? Oh, Corvette. BMW Z4 Roadster, 2024 Cadillac CD5, 2025 BMW X1, 2019 BMW 8 Series M80 or M850i, 28 Ford Mustang Shelby GT, 2021 Chevy Corvette 3-liter. Like, you could buy that every single month. And as the 1%. Like, that's the perspective of how far removed from the regular person you could buy a obviously maybe not like a Bugatti, right? The peak of sports cars or whatever. But you could buy an honest to God luxury vehicle every single month if you so chose. And you know what's even crazier? Those $3.4 million mansions that all of you have saved on Zillow, you know, the one with the attached indoor swimming pool, attached to the sauna, attached to the kitchen with like a professional chef's kitchen in it, with like the 7 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms, and the 5-car attached, fully HVAC garage with ridiculous driveway and like quarter-mile entryway, and a fucking lake, and a goddamn child's playground in the back. Yeah, that house is $18,000 a month. You could afford 4 of those. No, I'm sorry, 3 of those. You could afford 3 of those and still have money left over. You could afford 3 of those and have $6,000 a month left over. So $6,000 again, folks, $6,000 a month take-home pay. So what is that? 6,000 times 12 divided by 0.67 after tax, or like before taxes, right? Would be a $107,462.69 a salary. So you could own 3.4 million properties that are ridiculously extravagant and still take home the equivalent of a 6-figure salary. And that's the very, very bottom. You are the poorest, broke 1%er in the country. And you can afford 3 multi-million-dollar properties and still live as if you had a 6-figure salary, which the overwhelming majority of Americans, the 60% of Americans, live in poverty, so do the math. A 6-figure salary puts you, I believe, in the top 10%. What percent of earners make $107K or more? 19%. So in the top 20%. So as a 1%er, you could own 3 multi-million-dollar properties and still live as if you are still in the top 20%. Which is still insane because the top 20% of earners are still living pretty goddamn decently. It's actually the typical take-home salary of a dual income to professional income earners. Let's be clear about that. So we have a country where capitalism begins at a level of opulence where even if you wasted your money, you would still live better than the remaining 81%. And this administration is trying to merge corporate structure and influence by giving a 10% share to the government, which I don't know if you know much about businesses and corporations, but if you have 10% shares of a company and they have their calls, their shareholder calls, 10% gives you a fuck ton of influence, which means the federal government, specifically the president, would have a 10% stake in every single fucking industry and thus be able to dictate terms. And could buy and sell shares to accumulate more and more shares in the companies that control other shares. Now imagine if this country, the United States of America, with this president, ends up controlling 10% of BlackRock outright. The largest financial firm in the world, but based out of America. Do you begin to see how absolutely fucked that would be for literally everyone? Conglomerates, right? I don't even think that word adequately. Definitely, I don't think conglomerate adequately describes a number of different things relating to a conglomerate, especially a large corporation. A conglomerate in business composed of multiple, often unrelated subsidiary companies that operate in different industries providing diverse products or services. So basically, horizontal monopolies. So, what would it be called if a conglomerate owned a country? I guess they're going back to corporatocracy on that. Point being, just for the sake of argument, though, you're basically giving BlackRock, which is a conglomerate, real governing stake in the United States of America. By definition of America having a 10% stake in BlackRock, the remaining 90% stake being held by whoever else could then influence the 10% stake, which is America, into doing things that would benefit BlackRock, which is arguably why money in politics in of itself is corrupt and why capitalism in of itself can only ever lead to that inevitable outcome. So, I don't know. I went off the rails there a little bit. I kind of went off and went on Sam Ronan's presidential education hour, literally an hour. But I would be remiss to not bring that up. So, let's see if this motherfucker's going to die and do us all a favor.
There's a lot of dental offices that...
Several days now, speculation about Donald Trump's failing health has taken over the internet ever since he appeared with a massive spot on his right hand,
because that's not sexy,
on Friday while meeting with...
I'm sorry. Maybe I should just take off my shirt. No, just kidding.
World Cup officials. And that spot was so bad it looked like it had actually been covered in whiteout instead of actual makeup. And then, for the remainder of the weekend, whenever Donald Trump was on camera, he was seen very intentionally covering up that right hand. But then on Sunday, something else happened. Because on Sunday, Donald Trump went and played golf with Roger Clemens, who he then insisted needs to be in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, yada yada. But his left hand showed the same kind of bruising that is clearly being covered up on his right
Damn,
hand.
Bro.
So, it's not just the right anymore.
Is this motherfucker just going to talk? Okay. All right, we're not... Don't use this guy anymore, because all he fucking does is talk. We're talking, goddammit! This is our stream, and the only person that gets to talk is me! Sorry, Fight, that was still too close, I'm sorry.
Donald Trump now says he's worried about getting into heaven,
which, aside from being...
Okay.
We have some news right now. There are renewed concerns right now about Donald Trump's health after images taken over the past 24 hours show significant bruising on his hand.
Bro.
We got some breaking news. There are some alarming pictures that just came out that raise more questions about Donald Trump's health. Now, I have a lot of photos here to go through, but first, we also seen and knowing that Donald Trump actually has congestive
ultrasounds were performed. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70.
Okay, so they're saying it's benign, but I have some reporting here from a doctor who has seen Donald Trump. Obviously, he can't examine Donald Trump directly, but seeing what he has seen and knowing what she said, here's what this doctor has to say about Donald Trump's.
My gut is making Anna thirsty as we talk about an 80-year-old with dementia and cognitive heart failure showing his hideous veins. Yeah. Anna needs to go see a therapist for that. Let's just
condition, and he thinks that Donald Trump actually has congestive heart failure.
Doctorate in my field, I see congestive heart failure patients on a daily basis. The reason I know that he has congestive heart failure is because of the swelling in his feet and ankles. And the reason I know it's getting worse is because he's sitting behind the desk on camera now. He lashed out against MSNBC for giving him hash about his ankles. This is how we know that something is true, because it gets to Trump. Remember recently where he was talking about going to heaven for some fucking reason? Because people said, I'm not doing very well. I don't think he's talking about the media. I think he's talking about the doctors who are treating him. The only reason his health has been maintained at all is because he has the privilege of getting IV diuretics, spironolactone, Lasix, Bumex, something like that. That's why his hands have been bruised and covered with makeup. Badly, I might add. We know that it's getting worse because he knows he cannot hide the degree of swelling. That's why he's sitting behind the desk. Oh, he also has chronic kidney disease, which is also contributing to the swelling in the feet and ankles. I can't tell you how many times I have seen a patient in their home because they were hospitalized for AKI, or acute kidney injury. And the kidney injury was caused by nephrotoxic medications, namely diuretics, spironolactone, Bumex, Lasix. The president is definitely getting sicker, and we know he's not going to change his diet because he's such a fucking idiot. I think he's going to be around for 6 to 8 months tops. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Well, I like this guy because he's saying things and he's putting experts on there rather than just making a video about him speculating about things or maybe referencing, but how do we know it's actually real? And this is my stream, and I'm allowed to do this for as long as I want. Anyway, 6 to 8 months. Mark it in your calendars, folks. February to April. February or April, which is just in time for the Ohio primary election in May. And if he does bite the bullet, it is 1,000%. Oh, I'm sorry. Bite the diuretic medicine or the cognitive heart failure. If he bites that, it is going to throw all of MAGA into disarray, to include people that are going to try and be more MAGA. Be like, well, I will rise to the occasion to be more Trump than Trump could Trump if Trump could Trump. But he can't Trump because he's dead. And then there'll be the Republicans that are like, all right, he's dead. Can we act like conservatives again? Like, I'm not saying we need to go all the way back to, like, Eisenhower, because that was kind of socialist, right? But, like, can we go back to maybe Reagan or even Nixon? Like, can we just not do the fascism? Like, I'm all for fiscal responsibility. You know what? Queer people can get married. They're going to hell. Let them, right? I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to have those that are going to be like, I am MAGA incarnate. I have inherited his will. And can we just go back to 2000 or 1990? Can we do that? Which will give everybody the opportunity to be like, One down. Pass it around. 3 million motherfuckers on the wall to be guillotined on the wall. And that's where people like me come in. People like you come in. To finally be able to make some sense out of this insanity. Because clearly what's happening is that Trump has a cult of personality and such an absolute stranglehold of control over that insanity that it is forcing people or preventing people from taking action because of the fear of retaliation. But we know something. We know that nobody in his family has the political weight or currency to follow in Papa's footsteps, because nobody fucking likes his children or his children-in-law or anything like that, right? The Trump brand dies with Trump. Thank God. That said, J.D. Vance could inherit it. Of course, nobody really likes J.D. Vance either, not even his own fucking wife. So then who's left to inherit MAGA? You go back to the Tea Party. MAGA lives and dies with Trump. And that's the thing that I don't think they fucking realize. Yeah, they might be getting Project 2025. Yes, they might get the fascism. Yes, they might get the dictatorial control and just crumpling up the Constitution and throwing it away. They might very well achieve that. But when he is gone, and he shall be gone, hopefully by February, the latest April, who picks up the pieces? I mean, obviously, according to the Constitution, JD becomes the president, but let's be honest, he isn't going to be able to control the Republican Party. And I think there are plenty of people that control the Republican Party that are sick and tired of that shit show occurring. But there isn't anybody to fill those clown shoes. Not Ted Cruz, not Marco Rubio, not RFK Jr., not Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, Charlie Kirk's not even a politician, but he's not doing it. Elon Musk can't do it because, you know, he's foreign, as much as he wants to pretend otherwise. Am I missing somebody? There's nobody to fill that vacuum, is the main takeaway. Which allows a new generation of merry misfits to step into that particular void and drag it, kicking and screaming, to some direction that is not fascism. Now, well, why would you join the Republican Party then, Sam? Great question, folks. Aside from all of the red imagery, which is meant more so for the Vive la Revolution than Republicanism, it's because I, although live from the White House, live in Ohio, but live from the White House. And Ohio is very corrupt, especially these past decade or so, has gone from purple, like a true purple, to blood red, MAGA red. And they are also engaging in the gerrymandered redistricting for 2026. So, like I said in 2017 when I ran for DNC chair, if we really want to regain any power and control over our government and constituency and earn the trust of the American people, we're going to have to run as Republicans. Now, I say we because that was 2017 and I was running for the DNC chair. I am running in the Republican Party in Ohio because I don't have any fucking choice, because there won't be any other parties to run into. Secondly, fuck the Democrats. Fuck the Democrats. They don't deserve your support because they have literally proven themselves when we needed them most, they disappeared. Right? Just, no offense, Alan. No offense. That wasn't entirely your fault. You were just a kid flying on Appa in a storm and you fell into the water and you had to save yourself. I get it. But when the world needed him most, the avatar was nowhere to be found, right? And when the world, America, needed the Democratic Party most to stand up to fascism, they literally came up with Gavin Newsom. And Kamala Harris wrote a fucking book and has done fuck all to stop the Republican Party because they want the fascism. They just don't want to be responsible for the bad imagery of the fascism. But once that changes, once that cycles, they're more than happy to be fascists. Look at Obama. Enough said, right? So, that is why, ladies and gentlemen, they, thems of all ages, we will be running as a Republican and may very well end up in the presidency as a Republican. Not because we are one, but because this country is making it very fucking difficult. and impossible in many cases to run as an independent. And most voters will not vote independent, let alone third party. So you have your choice of the major two parties, but if you live in a state where the gerrymandering is happening, hate to break it to you, it's going to take a few eggs to be cracked to make an omelet. And we're going to make a goddamn omelet. So. Let's see. And we're paying for it. I want everybody who is against this to get a refund. Let him pay for it himself. True. He can get easy access to healthcare. The rest of us are screwed. Exactly. That'd be a great birthday present for me. April 11th. True. What a wonderful birthday that would be. February for Leah's birthday. I mean, February 15th is also payday for the military, so. And you always thought people trying to be Reagan more than Reagan himself was bad. Yeah, no, that's. It's sad that this movement was born from an incompetent dunce who started things out faking it with Ray Cohn grooming him. Yeah, no. We've only had like 2 modern presidents who began to be nationally recognized through entertainment, and it's not like what they created was brilliant stuff, like Reagan's movies. Like mediocre crap, and they get to be president. It's terrible. It's true. It's also capitalism. And it's also not just America. Zelensky, as Anna is often apt to remind me, was a comedian in the Ukraine whose bit was to be the president. And then he became it. And now he's a joke. You join Team Red in the duopoly, then I'm disowning Ronanism. Just kidding. Maybe in Team Red you can change it for the better. No, we're not changing the Republican Party. We are using the Republican Party to get our platform and message out and shove our middle finger into the eyes of every single fascist, bootlicking piece of scum in Congress that we can. Until we become president, maybe even still as a Republican, so that on January 21st, 2029, when I am the president and I swear in, I can immediately start signing executive orders and arrest warrants to purge our government of these fascists and dismantle all political parties and ban them. So, there's that. Wow. My teeth are really white. Sorry, got easily distracted there. I just went to the dentist. Thank God for a job, I guess. That's the only good thing that came out of capitalism is the insurance that you have to pay for to get the health care that you deserve and need. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Yeah. You see where I'm going with this? All right. So mark your calendars for February or April for that big party. Take off work. Get a lot of booze and a lot of water because you don't want to get alcohol poisoning. Oh, yeah. School enrollment.
Action News starts now.
Ohio, because I believe this is from, Toledo. The state of Ohio, the state that I reside in, even though I'm live from that White House, the state of Ohio is facing enrollment issues because they have gone through many of those private school voucher scandal things, which has absolutely gutted the public school system, and now more people are opting for homeschooling. More at 11.
For going to college, recent studies find that undergraduate enrollment to U.S. colleges is growing.
Despite the recent increase, those enrollment numbers are staying below pre-pandemic levels. In our big story, we're going to see what enrollment looks like at our colleges across our area and why Bowling Green State University is touting a new record in enrollment. Plus, a look at what is behind the increase college enrollment.
Made it way to make me look like a jackass. I was like, public education, nobody's doing that anymore. And it's like, education across the secondary is increasing. Thanks. Well, that's good. Hey, this is good news. Let's talk about it.
Is our big story today.
Well, Bowling Green State University breaking one of its own records. For the second consecutive year, BGSU is welcoming in a record freshman class. This year's class is the largest in school history. BGSU President Dr. Rodney Rogers says the class of 2029 consists of more than 4,000 new students. He says that's a 36% increase from the fall of 2021. College leaders have also implemented a new university-wide program called Life Design. President Rogers says the program helps students understand how to go to college and take advantage of everything BGSU has to offer.
Large enough to have all these opportunities, but we're small enough where every student has the opportunity to be involved and engaged.
President Rogers also...
Okay. This might be a feel-good story, but this is a very dry feel-good story. But hey, you know what? Shout out where shout out is due. Ohio, secondary, post-education enrollment is going up, which is great. The problem is our economy is not actually allowing for those students to have jobs because we're getting rid of entry-level educated positions in favor of AI. So, way for me to be a negative Nancy. I know. I'm sorry.
Well, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is...
So, again, Abrego Garcia is constantly being targeted by the administration when he was falsely, erroneously, it was an accident that he was detained in the first place, and they keep going after this guy despite repeated court orders for the government to stop, and they just fucking won't.
Back in federal custody right now after reporting to ICE in Baltimore yesterday, but a federal judge in Maryland ruled he has to stay in the U.S. for now. Alexis Davila on your corner, back at that ICE facility this morning. Good morning, Alexis.
Good morning. Yes, Abrego Garcia's attorneys filed an emergency lawsuit yesterday asking the Maryland federal judge to stop and withhold any type of deportation for Abrego Garcia for the time being. Now, what this entails, too, is it means that they requested him to not be moved more than 200 miles away from Greenbelt because at that courthouse is where his case has been handled for some time now. But what that turned into is that the judge issued an order saying that he cannot be deported. She blocked the deportations for Abrego Garcia for the time being, but that still means that his case is in limbo right now. What we know is that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was taken into custody yesterday morning in Baltimore at his ICE...
Oh, but they want to blur out the ICE agents' faces because Nazis doing Nazi shit. We can't have that be public because, God forbid, they get some commupons. And he's pulling an Andrew Jackson by trying to send him away. Anyway, correct. They want to send him to Africa, which, again, deportation means going back to the country of origin. Everything else that isn't that is human trafficking. Okay, let me say that again. You cannot be deported to any other place on this earth, in this universe. If we had the capacity to travel to every single star, planet, galaxy in the universe, if we had that capacity, and we sent anybody to any place within the universe that wasn't where they originally came from, that's no longer deportation. That is human trafficking. And that is how extreme this is. We obviously we're talking about Earth here, but even if we were a tier 4 civilization and we were talking about deporting people, which for whatever reason, if we did anything other than send them back to where they originally came from, it would still be human trafficking. And what we are doing is taking an American immigrant, which he isn't even an immigrant, right? Or is he an immigrant? Is he a citizen now? I don't even remember the actual backstory for him anymore, because the only thing that matters is they keep trying to send him to everywhere under the sun except for where his natural ties are. And that's human trafficking. It's also kidnapping if you don't have legal justification to arrest somebody and don't give them due process in the first place. And it's also kidnapping if a judge orders you not to arrest the person in the first fucking place and you do it anyway. That's kidnapping. And if you move them to any place other than their fucking home, that's human trafficking. So we are engaging as a country, the police forces are engaging in kidnapping and human trafficking, specifically against him, but broadly against every person that they have targeted since this administration came into power. He is an immigrant, but he is legal. Great. But he's not from Uganda or El Salvador. So,
check-in appointment.
insane.
He is now at an ICE facility in Virginia where the Trump administration had plans to immediately process him for deportation to Uganda. Minutes after Abrego Garcia was taken into custody, his attorneys filed a lawsuit to halt any deportations until he gets a fair trial. The Maryland federal judge says that she issued the deportation block because she fears that with no explicit protections, Abrego Garcia could be jailed or tortured in Uganda. The Trump administration still accuses Abrego Garcia of being a gang member and argues that he doesn't have any right to be in the U.S. Abrego Garcia's attorneys argue he has the right to a fair trial.
He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the street.
And the fact that everybody here is smugly just, or smiling, J.D. Vance is fucking smiling. Scum. Prison, 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 prison. All of these fucking assholes should be in prison for human trafficking and domestic terrorism. This is literally textbook definitions of all those crimes. And she's the attorney general, for fuck's sake. It's literally, she is abusing her power, she is lying, and she's lying to the people and fomenting public fear. And this, I mean, my God. The worst part is, I would love to just talk about what I would do as president, what I would do as congressman, what I would love to do for this country, and just bore you all to death with Ronan's lecture hour. But we have to condemn and address and talk about how fucking ludicrously corrupt each and every single one of these people are, and every single action that orange clown in the bottom right-hand corner makes. It's insane.
Like all these liberals want him to be.
It really is very clear that the government is far more interested in throwing around their weight and demonstrating what they think is their power to do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whoever they want.
And they don't.
And Abrego Garcia is to stay at the ICE facility in Virginia until his evidentiary hearing. That is supposed to be sometime this week, ordered by the judge. I'm
sometime this week. And this was 12 hours ago. So, hey, maybe we'll have an update tomorrow or Thursday. Or by Thursday, I should say. But this is actually insane. I mean, this is no different than George Floyd. This is no different than when the news and the media tried to paint George Floyd as this vicious gang member after the cops kneeled on his neck for 10 minutes, killing him. And then, of course, when the entire country was set on fire in outrage, the response was police cities. Cop cities. So, unfortunately, and it doesn't, it goes even further back, right? It keeps going further and further back to the slave patrol. If we want to go as far back as we really want, the inception of this country has never, ever stood for allowing other demographics to have any semblance of freedom or rights. And it's just 250 years of evolution of that shit. Well, we were talking about this earlier, so let's...
Do you wonder at this early stage in the second term how much Trump is making? Over $3 billion already from that New Yorker journalist's account. And today we have fresh revelations that Trump is also investing over $100 million in bonds this year. Interestingly, since January, when he took on, of course, this job, the bonds are bundles of debt, and they relate to federal policy. NBC reports Trump began the buying spree right after he was sworn in. Trump began the bond buying spree one day after being sworn in on January 20th. It includes these entities that could be directly impacted by his sweeping agenda. This is a scandal in plain sight. The conflict of interest, because Trump can, of course, make money off this. He can delay or deny certain policies in order to make money. His career, of course, has long tried to monetize his name. The difference now is he has a day job.
When it comes to great stakes,
I've just raised the stakes.
My new game is Trump, the game.
The God Bless the USA Bible. At Trump University, we teach success. That's what it's all about. That's the real deal. That's the real deal.
Today, we're here to introduce Trump Mobile.
We are announcing the launch of Trump Coins, a true symbol of American greatness.
Who could have seen this coming? The fact is, the presidency, because of its power, is not weighed down by some of the rules and conflict requirements that members of Congress or even the cabinet have. So Trump has abused that. In the long run, the question...
No, he's... What? He's absolutely weighed down by the same requirements to divulge his investments. Hence why you're reporting on it, you dumb motherfucker. He's a journalist. You know, okay, fuck it, I guess we're just gonna go straight into this now. Fuck that. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Because, like... You are actually reporting on the actual fact that he had to report his purchases, his investments, which is exactly what Congress has to do. And you're going to fucking sit there and say, he's not burdened by the same things as Congress, when you are literally reporting on it. Bruh. Actually, I don't know. I really do like this, but I feel like we have to talk about this from the Oval Office. Pop culture. Yes, you are right. The coins that are failing, but that's kind of the broader cryptocurrency in general is failing. It's not so much that his coins are failing. It's the market in general is at a downturn, which isn't great because I've invested in Bitcoin or crypto generally, and I was hoping to fund the revolution with that. It was still good, but it's not looking great right now. 23 hours ago, the owner of Twitter had this to say: any government driving destruction of its own people is not legitimate. Yeah, well, you know, he literally drove the destruction of its own people, and by any even moderate definition of that, he was driving the destruction of his own industries and businesses, which makes him not legitimate. But, you know, irony and all that fun stuff.
The president is threatening to deploy more troops to other major cities, including Chicago and Baltimore, after his crackdown in the nation's capital. Melissa Dunn has the latest from Washington.
About 2,200 National Guard troops seen patrolling the nation's capital, spotted at train stations and outside national monuments. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says some of those troops are armed.
They're armed, capable of defending themselves and others if need be, supporting law enforcement, and we're proud to be there, sir.
Which is literally against the law. It violates the Posse Comitatus Act, which is an act that was signed over 100 years ago, explicitly forbidding the military to engage in civilian police activities other than during times of invasion. Last I checked, we're not being invaded by a foreign power. So, no, I mean, it's not even, yes, tone deaf and a friggin' con artist, but like the fact that we are so flagrantly just disregarding the rule of law, and that so many of these pieces of shit are willing to follow those orders. Like, as president, I am going to dishonorably discharge all of these pieces of shit. All of them. And I'm going to charge them for sedition, for undermining the Constitution, for failure to obey or to report unlawful orders. And I'm gonna do it to their commanders, their NCOs, their NCOICs. I'm gonna do it all the way up the fucking chain of command. Because this is an atrocity. And again, I'm a service member. Like, this uniform means something To me, at the very least. Clearly, it means fuck all to them. All of which is to say, I very much so look forward to the day where I can hold everyone who obeyed these orders accountable. I very much so look forward to that day.
The guards stationed around tourist attractions and the metro, not in Washington's most high crime areas, according to reports. Police officials say crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low. Despite that, the president is calling the deployment of the National Guard troops a measure to address out-of-control crime in the nation's capital, also saying Chicago desperately needs help.
And again, what are these journalists doing? What is that lady saying? She is reporting what is physically, technically happening. From 18 hours ago, ABC 10. All she is doing is saying these are the facts of the events as they are transpiring. A journalist would say these are the facts of the events that are transpiring, and these are the fucking laws that are being violated in so doing. That's free press. This is propaganda. At worst, it's propaganda. At best, it is being complicit by not challenging it.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker urging the president to back down.
This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city
and not release the Epstein files
in a blue state to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Trump is also threatening to send troops to New York and Baltimore, two Democrat-run cities. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott says his city was starting to see reduction in crime rates before Trump's initiative.
The president could help us all continue to see this work go even further, because none of us are celebrating. We want crime to go down again, even further. We want to do it the right way.
ABC's Rachel Scott.
But the right way, which is a thing that is also not being discussed, is how do you actually reduce crime? Why is crime being reduced in these major cities? Because people's material conditions are improving. Whether that's through wages, rent controls, whether that's through investing in more industry, more jobs, whatever it may be. That is why crime is going down. Yet never do they ever say that. You want to reduce crime? You don't hire more cops. And you don't give them guns, and you sure as fuck do not give them legal immunity to terrorize citizens. You do it by providing material needs and improving material conditions of the civilian population. That's how you prevent crime. And then the crimes that are committed after the fact, if everybody has access to food, real shelter, real livable wages, real transportation, real utilities, and a touch of luxury, if everybody has access to that, and healthcare and education, right? Let's not forget that. And insurance, let's not forget that either. And maybe even childcare, which, by the way, is one of my major policy positions. Just throwing that out there. If you provide for those things, and there are still crimes being committed, those people are actually sick. They are actually people that are not capable of participating in society. Sure, then arrest the shit out of them. Police them. But again, crimes being committed is something that is reacted to, right? Police do not prevent shit. They can't. That is not their purpose. There is no way to prevent crime. If you walk in on your wife cheating on you and you murder both of them, that's a crime of passion. There's no way to prevent that other than for your wife to not cheat on you, or vice versa. If you are cheating on your wife with a lady and she walks in on you and axes you both, guess what? The only way to prevent that is for you not cheating on your wife in the first place. So again, crimes that are committed generally after or outside of the needs being met are white-collar crimes or crimes of passion. And that's the fucking problem. We would be in a significantly better place in our society if the only crimes that were being committed were scandals by corrupt motherfuckers and crimes of passion. We'd be much better off in society, but instead, we are criminalizing being homeless. How? You are breaking the law by not having any capital or assets to your name and refusing to die and trying to survive to the best of your ability? That's a crime? Sleeping in a public space with a tent and a sleeping bag? That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a crime to be alive unless you are making somebody money. That's the United States of America. Under capitalism. You are a criminal if you are alive and not producing capital for somebody, whether it's yourself or somebody else. That's a fucking problem. Hence why that system needs to go. Whether via tools from a galaxy far, far away, or from tools guaranteed under the Second Amendment. But that system must be broken. So, enough of that, I guess. Speaking of cashless bail.
So I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it.
So, cashless bail, which is being arrested and charged, but you're able to be free under your own recognizance. That's cashless bail.
When, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean,
which is, again, if you don't show up again, you are committing a second crime of which you are empirically guilty for, and you will then exacerbate whatever trial you were entering into regardless. By skipping that trial, you are, even if you are exonerated from that trial after all is said and done, you will still go to prison for missing the trial in the first place. So this is, again, cruelty and punishing people under the rules of capitalism. If you don't have capital, you don't get to be free. Once again, criminalizing a lack of capital. That's literally the only thing that can be said about that.
People, and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through.
Okay, we're not listening to him speak, but that's literally what we're talking about. We're talking about own recognizance. He's trying to get rid of it unilaterally for any crime whatsoever. Which means if you get arrested for protesting, guess what? You no longer get bail. And most protesters don't have the money or resources to afford bail, because bail is a fraction of the total fines or whatever else it may be, and that's usually thousands of dollars. When I had my run-in with the law because they wanted to abuse their power and threaten me at gunpoint, it was going to cost me $18,000 if I wasn't released on my own recognizance. I did not have $18,000. They also were going to throw away all of the charges. Except in the grand jury, they added them back again. So the point in all of what I'm saying here is we already have corrupt judicial systems. We already have corrupt police forces. And what little semblance of support and peace and opportunity exists through the form of own recognizance is going to be taken away by this executive order. But again, and I cannot stress this enough, just because he signs an executive order doesn't make it law. And that's the point. Executive orders are not legislation. They are not binding. They have to still go through the rigmarole of being approved either by Congress or through the Supreme Court system. And the fact that they have repeatedly been struck down and repeatedly been shoved through people's throats with no repercussions is why he keeps doing this. And the problem is these judges are salivating at the opportunity of harming more people. It's like, oh, dang, I was going to give you RRC. Dang, but this executive order won't let me. Ah, darn. I guess you're going to prison, which means your trial's going to be, oh, now there's so many people in jail. Ah, dang. Your trial won't be for another year. Unless you can afford $6,000. No. Ah, dang, I guess you're going to lose your house, your apartment, your job, your car, your insurance, and your freedom. Dang, that sucks. Oh, all of your stuff is going to be sold by the state. It's going to go to the city. We're going to take it as additional funds. You're going to have nothing because we took your freedom from you because we had an excuse to do so. And now we are also meeting all of the housing requirements, the seating requirements for prisoners, because we're also a for-profit prison industry. So we're going to be making bank this way. They're going to be making bank that way. And you are going to get fucked. Also, because we are arresting more and more of you dissenting pieces of shit protesters, we're going to use you as an example for this new program to discourage any other dissent or protesting against Il Duce de Fura. Because we want this. This is exactly what we want. And we know that you're too fucking cowardly and poor to actually put up a fight. That's what's going to happen. That means that people who are wealthy enough to pay bail are free to go, but poor people can't. Right, exactly. That is exactly it. It is once again criminalizing or penalizing people without capital. It's discriminatory. Also, judges don't let a murderer go just like that. Of course they don't. And then, yes, your family will end up homeless, especially if you're the only breadwinner. And even if you have two breadwinners in the family, the problem is you probably require both of them. And that's the point. That's the point that's being made here. Is that it is once again rewarding capital and punishing lack thereof. Which is again in gross violation of anything to do with the Constitution or the law. I think this is the one where I think what they're talking about, well, let's see. I think this one is talking about using the National Guard throughout these next 20 states to augment ICE. Let's see if I'm right about that.
ICE is overwhelmed. I think the federal government is literally out of control.
I was right.
Now at 5 o'clock, President Trump is planning to send 1,700 National Guard troops to 19 states, including Indiana. The latest step is...
Also, you don't send National Guard troops to states. Those states activate the Guard under the presidential order or the congressional order, as the case may be. So, once again, misrepresenting what's happening. And they're doing nothing to argue against it.
The Trump administration's nationwide crackdown on immigration ramps up across the United States. Thanks for joining us tonight at 5. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Aaliyah Blackburn in for Bierschel. Soldiers will start mobilizing in September and will serve as support for federal immigration agents. This comes as several state and county agencies agree to partner with ICE.
Camp Atterbury has also been approved to be used as an ICE detention center, with 1,000 beds also being made available at the Miami Correctional Facility as well.
I cannot wait to put every single one of these people to whatever we decide. Guillotine, the sword, firing squad, or just prison for life for treason. But I cannot wait. I really cannot fucking wait to hold all of these military pieces of shit accountable for violating their fucking oaths to both the Constitution and the American people. Because the oath literally says lawful orders. None of this is lawful.
Fox 59 State House reporter Hannah Adamson explains how the troops are expected to assist and how state leaders are responding.
Starting next month, hundreds of National Guard
and
troops...
also, again, yet another news network that isn't reporting on the fact that this is highly illegal.
Deploy to help federal immigration officials. Border Czar Tom Homan says the goal is to go after sanctuary cities. But it's important to note most of the 19 states on this list, like Indiana, are red states. Still, Homan says the roughly 5,000 ICE deportation officials spread across the country are in need of backup.
ICE is overwhelmed.
Border Czar Tom Homan says roughly 1,700 National Guard troops will deploy to 19 states, including Indiana, to assist ICE officials.
We got almost 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal history that we're trying to find. So National Guard.
No, you're fucking not. And no, you don't. Where are they coming up with these numbers? 700,000 immigrants in America with criminal records. Because there's no fucking way. They keep coming up with these numbers. So, in October 24, 13,000 convicted murderers entered our country during 3.5-year period as Border Czar. 400, let's see. The figures were released in a letter from ICE to Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who had requested them. They show that as of July 2024, there were 425,000 non-citizens with criminal convictions on ICE's non-detained docket, a database of people facing deportation proceedings but who are not held in ICE custody. Of these, I guess there were several thousand that were convicted of stuff. However, DHS statements said the data had been misinterpreted. It also includes many who are under the jurisdiction or currently incarcerated by federal, state, or local law enforcement partners, i.e. not free, as in not roaming the streets. For example, this guy who's in a maximum security prison in Colorado for his role in the 9/11 attacks is not currently detained by ICE, so will likely be on that list. So we have literal terrorists from 9/11 being conflated into that 700,000 number. And that's the point, folks. That's the point. There are not 700,000 illegal immigrants running amok in America. And there's certainly not 5-year-old fucking children going to kindergarten or high school seniors taking their friends to volleyball practice. They're not fucking single mothers on their way back from work or from the grocery store. And they're not people working on construction sites either. So, spare me the Nazi line, you sociopath. Unfucking believable.
They're a force multiplier.
Homan says the troops will help ICE with transportation and intel, but will not make arrests.
I think the federal government is literally out of control.
State Representative Ed Delaney calling the move a, quote, show of force and a way for the Trump administration to distract from lower...
It's illegal. It violates the Posse Comitatus Act. Why have we not heard a single clip from any of these speakers say the words Posse Comitatus Act? The thing is that they're not even going after those undocumented immigrants who are criminals. Also, what do they consider criminals? Under Obama, someone with a DUI was considered a criminal. Right. And even this list from the BBC from 2024, it said that there were 13,000 homicides, 15,800 SAs, and 62,000 just regular assault. So, I mean, and are they already in prison? Do they just happen to have criminal records? What were these criminal records from when they were in their home country? Like, these numbers are just being used as an excuse to justify this violence and aggression and to stoke fear in the population, which is terrorism. ICE agents have already said that since they are expected to kidnap so many people every day, they can't go after the actual criminals because they are more difficult to detain. Right. And if their quotas are 7,000 a day and there's only 5,000 ICE agents, that means each agent has to make an individual arrest. And that's also ridiculously unreasonable and exactly why they are going after innocent people, not the 700,000 alleged criminals.
Than anticipated deportation numbers.
Who wants
out-of-state National Guardsmen standing around our street corners doing what? The governor has the option of saying we won't participate. I hope to God he won't participate.
Earlier this month, Governor Braun said Indiana would fully partner with federal immigration authorities. That includes plans to detain hundreds of undocumented migrants at Camp Atterbury and the Miami Correctional Facility.
We're cooperating with ICE here on the worst first.
The mission...
Again, scum. Fascist scum. That guy is definitely getting the guillotine.
...is expected to last through mid-November. Reporting from Indianapolis, I'm Hannah Adamson.
No, you're not reporting from Indianapolis. You are aiding and abetting terrorism. That is what you're doing. You didn't report shit. All you did is spew information that you were told to spew without actually reporting whether or not that information had any grounds whatsoever, which is your fucking job as a reporter. Your job is to comment on the shit that you are spewing forth. It's raining outside. Could be a flood. If it is a flood, these are the preparations. It's snowing outside. It's a level 2 snow emergency. Based on this definition and our meteorologist, you need to stay inside and not drive. You do your job perfectly fine when it's the weather. Or when there's a tragedy, plane crash. Oh, darn. Here's all the facts. This is this is that. We're going to hold this company accountable for not doing the maintenance, for not checking this, that, and the other. But when it's actual domestic terrorism being ordered by the President of the United States of America, it is what it is. Fuck out of here.
Residents of Washington, D.C. are now waking up to the sight of...
Wonderful headline, by the way. That's what you want to see. There is no democracy in the world that is functioning if that is anywhere in the news whatsoever. Some National Guard members in Washington are now armed. The military is armed in the nation's capital, patrolling our streets. But it's not martial law. It's not in violation of any law. It's because of crime, which is actually not allowed to happen in the first place. You cannot put the military there, armed or otherwise, to enforce law, because that violates the law. So the only thing that's happening right now is martial law, which is, again, only legal under extremely specific circumstances. The 2024 homicide statistics across 29 major cities in the United States show a promising shift in public safety, with total homicides dropping by 16% from 3944 to 3313, representing 631 fewer lives lost. Exactly. Homicide rates are going down. They were going down regardless. So how did undocumented immigrants commit 13,000 murders? Is that the total murders ever committed in the history of the U.S. by undocumented immigrants? It's gotta be. That has to be the case. Because 13,099 convicted of homicide, right? And even if you figure, because now we can go back to the numbers. Okay, so how many immigrants in America that are Latino? You know what? No. Let's just say that are in America. Okay. The immigrant population in America claims to be 52 million, which in of itself would be 15% of our total demographic. Which I could see that, visa and citizenship and whatever. Okay, so undocumented. So what's the number here? What are they trying to do here? The figures were released. They show that as of July 2024, there were 425,000 non-citizens, which could be immigrant that is here legal or illegally. And if that's the case, there's 52 million. So we got 425. Oh, he said 700,000. So let's just use that number. divided by 52 million. That's 1.3% of all immigrants in America. And then of that 1.3% of immigrants in America, somehow 13,100-ish were convicted of homicide. And there have only been around 7,200 in the past 2 years. So yeah, this would have to be every immigrant ever that is still in the United States borders, which is, again, conflating numbers for the sake of a political induced action to sway public opinion, which is what? Terrorism. This is literally terrorism. And I don't even know, like, this isn't even a debate. This is all terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Being perpetrated by our government to create or to extract public support for this fascism and martial law and militarization of our streets, so on and so forth, for going after criminals over the course of what, 40, 50 years? And even in the article that talked about it, they weren't even accurately conveying what the entire list was, how far back it went. I mean, are we talking about all the way back to the 1960s, the 50s, the 40s? That's insane. The way that they say it sounds like undocumented immigrants committed 13,000 murders in the last couple of years. They really make it sound like it happened last year, this year. There are 13,000 murderers on the loose right now in America. And that's just not the case. That's just not the case. But it's apparently enough to put National Guardsmen that are armed on the streets of our nation's capital.
National Guard members in what is seen as an escalation of President Trump's federal takeover of the Capitol. A military official tells CBS News that fewer than 50 Guards men and women will be carrying weapons.
It's literally...
However, a spokesperson...
Look at this! Short of the triangle, this is the same weapon. It is the same loadout. Except this is a prop. This is a prop. That's the real deal. Look at it. Look at it. This is what our military is walking around with in DC. And that guy looks bored as shit. And he has it strapped the same exact way I do. Again, this is a prop. And he's just big chillin'. Big chillin'. With his rifle. In the streets of DC. Big chillin'. Do we not see how fucked up this is? That is... First of all, when I was in Japan, I was on flightline escort duty. I had to check vehicles for third-party nationals to come through the gate and get on our base. I had to actually inspect the vehicles, and I was armed with a weapon that looks like this. And you know what that does to people that see a weapon like this? When you're wearing a uniform with camouflage, they get nervous. Very nervous. Even if it's on your back. Like that. Well, like this. Or, you know. Doesn't really matter, right? The point is, nobody feels comfortable around somebody in military uniform and a rifle. And that is now marching across our nation's capital. And I know that regular civilians have a problem with this because I actually had to tell a civilian to move along because they had stopped to look at their phone or whatever in front of our base, in front of our gate. Which, should they have done that? No. Should they have known better? Yes. Why would you stop in front of near a military installation at all? You know it's a military installation. Like, they're pretty fucking easy to figure out that that's a military installation. You don't just arbitrarily rest there, right? But all I did is walk up to them with my rifle at port arms because I wasn't really thinking. I was like this. I was like this. So imagine this is the car, right? I was like this. Sumiya-san, gomenasai, leave. And they were fucking terrified. And I was like, gomenasai. And I put the rifle behind me, like so. Gomen asai. Because I don't know Japanese. They clearly don't know English. I put the rifle behind me. And I was telling them to move in some way, capacity, or form. And they were fucking terrified. Why? Because I am 6 feet tall, wearing that uniform, the military uniform, and I have a rifle. And I had a vest on with more bullets. And I scared the shit out of them on accident. Not meaning to, just doing my job. Literally, just doing literally, not like, oh, I was just following orders, but literally, all I was doing was making sure that people were not impeding the gate, and I think they were actually in front of the gate. So I was like, hey, you gotta not stop here. Now, imagine you're going to Washington, D.C., again, our nation's capital, and you're just a citizen. You're an American, no less. And you're walking someplace that they don't want you to be walking at. And that guy, of course, he's not very intimidating. He looks pretty... Good thing he's got the gun, right? Because you probably wouldn't be scared of him walking up to you even with aggression, right? But what if he does get aggressed with you? What if this Poindexter nerdy-looking fucker starts getting an attitude with you because you're getting an attitude with him, and all of a sudden, he goes from this to this. I said move. Now, all of a sudden, you are confronting a service member armed with an M4 carbine rifle and a 40-round clip with an extra 120 on his side. What do you think's going to happen next? Panic. Because what do people do? They panic when faced with military people, a gun, and a bad attitude. And you know what else is going to happen? This piece of shit might get a little trigger happy. That piece of shit might feel really good. Man, that felt real good. I've been getting picked on since basic. I scared the shit out of that big, tall, manly, whoever motherfucker, because I had the gun in the uniform. And next time, he's going to start abusing that power. And next time after that, eventually, it's that he's just going to walk down the street. I said, move! Move! Get out of the way! I'm walking here. I'm Private Snuffy. And I said, get the fuck going, citizen. Or else. There is only escalation to be had from this situation. Only. And you're only going to instill fear in people. That is the only possible outcome of this. You're going to be less inclined to walk to wherever they are, which, outright. And if you are confronted by one of them, you will panic. And you will have a harder time addressing them and or adhering to their commands. And they are not trained to deal with people because we aren't supposed to. We are trained to deal with the enemy. And now, we are being told to go to the nation's fucking capital and treat everybody that you see as the enemy. Granted, that's in violation of the Geneva Conventions. Granted, that's in violation of our own laws. But not in Trumpistan. Nobody gives a shit. And that is why I am so vehemently angry and disgusted with that piece of shit and everybody else who obeyed those orders, because they are wrong. They know they are wrong, and they continue to do it anyway because either A, they don't care, B, they like it, or C, they are too fucking stupid to know that they are wrong. And their commanders are even more guilty because they are taught military law as part of officer training. They are taught what is and what is not lawful order, when to go to legal, and when to do this and when to do that, and what unlawful looks like. Commanders, officers, do know better. They don't have the excuse of, well, I don't know. Enlisted don't either, but their training is more in the computer training, right? Less so, here's the classroom on what military law is and what isn't a lawful order, other than through basic training. All I'm saying is, when I make it into Congress and when I become president, I am the president. When I have the ability to issue those orders and the consequences for these pieces of shit, it is going to be brutal, and I will 100% make an example out of each and every single one of them so that there is no question or doubt in anybody's mind, past, present, or future, that this is unfucking acceptable in the United States of America. And I cannot be more clear than that. I only looked it up because I know the crime stats, and I know that's more than the number of total murders in a year. And it is a known fact that immigrants, in general, including undocumented immigrants, commit less crimes than natural-born citizens. So I knew the 13K number had to be BS. True. I'd be scared, yeah, from being approached, even by Poindexter with a gun. I would be scared, too, because of, is he a trigger-happy piece of shit? And he's there, so the chances are the answer is yes. All because Big Balls got beat up by a 15-year-old girl. Yeah, well, and again, fascism doesn't need a good excuse, it just needs an excuse. Apolitical, welcome back. It's been a minute. Glad to see that you are participating. And also a good point. Now, because I have been so animated and vocally trashing my vocal cords, I have already gone through 2 cups of water. I had 2 cups just to avoid needing to take breaks, and they're all empty. So, unfortunately, I do need a quick break to grab more water because I don't think I'm going to last a whole hour. So, BRB, and please enjoy these beautiful songs.
Joining us on this episode are real Spectrum customers, Monique and Greg. We hear your family is a big fan of Spectrum.
Family of 4, we have about 18 devices last time I counted.
2 teams require a lot of speed. Everything they do is online.
There's gaming, there's streaming. Spectrum is perfect for us. I mean, it just seamlessly connects all our devices with lightning speed.
Sounds like Spectrum is really committed to keeping you connected.
It's amazing.
Finding the right business tool was hard until I found QuickBooks. Every task that burned me out, like matching business transactions, taken care of. More time for my catering business to grow. Get 50% off QuickBooks Online and payroll for 3 months. Terms and conditions apply.
Domino's Best Deal Ever is back. Get any hand-tossed pan, thin crust, or New York-style pizza with any toppings for just $9.99 online.
These fucking ads are getting way out of hand. Because even though that's the stream, whatever, I would rather do the playlist of revolutionary music, right? But the problem, shuffle. Okay, so this one decided to play. But the problem is, we'll get ads on this too. Like, we can't fucking escape them, and the ad blockers are becoming less and less effective as time goes on, because these corporations are like, well, we now know what all the major ad blockers are. We're going to go out of their fucking way. So, it is infuriating that we can't even have just a little semblance of just relaxation and silliness, because all of our streaming services and online things have to shove ads down your throat unless you pay them the low price of $5.99 a month. Fuck you, YouTube, and fuck you, Spotify. Not paying for your shit, and we shouldn't fucking have to. And as president, I guarantee you, we are getting rid of all that shit. All of it. Ad-free listening standard. Why? Because we're getting rid of capitalism. Fuck you. Now then. Better than 2 boxes of chocolate donuts. Well, I like how one just fell out at me. Oh. 5-second rule. I'm not actually currently hungry, but, or stress eating for that matter. Samuel Ronan, thanks for making some great Facebook requests about the best country in the world. Netherlands, #1. Well, it's certainly not America right now, so, you know. What would be your limit of how rich people should be? So do you mean how many rich people there should be? The limit will be 0. 0. 0. I have Spectrum, it's okay. Well, it's okay for, you know, the fact that they... Oh, how many dollars? It's a good question. I believe my policies do have some things that are slightly contradictory. Like, for instance, the taxation reform shows a tax bracket up to $1 billion taxed at like 100%, right? Or 99%, whatever. And then I also go in and then say later on that with wage reform, there will be income caps and so on and so forth. Because part of the policy platform is the transition from getting to where we are to where we want to be. And depending on how aggressively I end up taking this title, the 48th president, will determine how much I have to play games. We start with the taxation reform, and then we end with, you know, true socialism. If it ends up that we ended up in office in more exciting ways, then we just execute the shit out of them. Period. Dot. End of story. They don't get to have dollars. There is no rich. There is no wealthy. There is people own the means of production. The state will manage the means of production on behalf of the people, and the people will have the right, guaranteed, explicitly written, to overthrow anyone at any time for any reason that they are abusing their fucking powers and privileges. And that nobody will be afforded the opportunity to gain more than what their labor and the profits thereof contribute. So wealth won't really exist anymore. The wealthy will not exist as a class, because if we make a lot of product and we make a lot of profit from that product, we get 50% of that profit regardless. So if our collective economy generated $1 million in profit per employee, half immediately goes to every single American citizen anyway. Now, well, what about investment? Well, there is going to be none of that. There's no stock markets. We're not doing that. We're getting rid of that shit. Well, how are you going to get rid of it? Isn't that going to tank the global economy? That's not my problem. Well, you can't do that. How's that better than Trump? In that sense, it isn't. Because fuck capitalism. I'm getting rid of it in my country completely. Fuck that. We will have exports and imports. We will trade with other countries. But we are not going to be subjected to the stock market and the whims of global capitalists playing with our tax dollars and our economies. We're not playing that game. So, to answer your question, I guess more succinctly, there will not be rich people unless we are all rich. Because we are all collectively contributing to the economic growth of society. Now, there will be people in charge. There will be managers. There will be, the equivalent of CEOs monitoring the big game strategy, the big brain strategies. And there will be top-down communication and there'll be bottom-up communication. But nobody will be making more than anybody else because we are all cogs in the machine. That's the thing. Even the CEO can be replaced. Even the COO, the CFO, all of these C-suite motherfuckers are replaceable because they perform a job out of many, one of many jobs out of the entire industry. They serve one role with one purpose, which is just as important as the person working on the line. And that is what we are going to break. This idea that people in higher levels of the organization are somehow more valuable. They're not. They're fucking not. Not the president, not Congress, not the Supreme Court, not senators, not governors. Nobody. Not CEOs, not senior managers, not district managers, not line supervisors. Nobody is more important than anybody else. But if we were going to stratify who is the most important in any given organization, it is the people at the bottom doing the actual work. And if that's the case, then if anybody should be making more money, it's them. And the higher up the chain you go, the less money you make. Because the less actual work you do, you're just doing the big brain shit. So if we're going to be real hardcore about it, that's how we would do it. But that's not how I want to do it. Because again, that would only reverse the same problems that capitalism created. We need to see that we are all equal, that we all serve a big picture, a greater good, that we are all part of something greater than ourselves, whether that is part of the country, the city, the state, or the company, or the industry, because they wouldn't be companies at that point, they'd be industries. We all do something. We all do our part, whatever that part is, whether that's up here making big brain decisions or whether that's quote unquote down here doing the manual sweat work labor. So no, there will not be wealthy. There will not be powerful. There might be influential in the sense that you can't get rid of human nature in politics, but you can at the very least make it extremely difficult to do anything other than to incentivize work ethic and esprit de corps. So that's the idea. Excuse me. I just discovered the concept that companies make services worse. For example, Google could make the search engine worse so people see more ads before they find what they want to know. I can attest to that because I suck at using Google nowadays, because all of the search terms and tricks that I've learned over the years no longer apply because it's all about the fucking ads. Dressed like Fruity Hamas? How am I dressed like Fruity Hamas? This is an actual keffiyeh. And this is a beret that supports Medicare for all. The party I like here wants a limit of having 50 million euros. I had to take a deep breath with my liberal mind. Well, they wouldn't like me then. Because the limit should be whatever we all make as part of our process and contribution to society. Like I'm ever getting that rich. True, nobody's getting that rich. I don't know why there is always a liberal in the back of my mind. It's because we were all brainwashed. We were all raised to believe the American dream or the capitalist dream, the neoliberal reality of anybody becomes super wealthy if you have a great idea, which is just blatantly false. We always have working class people defending billionaires here in the U.S. We've been brainwashed our entire lives, which is exactly what I just said. Thank you, Anna, for saying it first, because I said it way after you wrote that. So, good call. Okay, I was wrong. I am a hater. Hey, you can be a hater against the rich. That's fine. They deserve a lot more hate than what they're getting. So, all of that to say, how far did we even get? No, we made it to 19 seconds before I went off the rails. Oh, this is funny.
The federal takeover of Washington, D.C. is blowing a hole in the economy of the city. We have new data that restaurant reservations plunged more than 25% in the days after Donald Trump announced that
because why would you want to go eat when this is sitting at you?
DC. Hilariously.
Literally. Oh, I can't wait to have our dinner together. Oh, it's our anniversary. Oh, we're in the nation's capital. And you got this. Yeah, we're going to find out in a few years or months that he was part of a pedophile ring.
This morning on Fox and Friends during his softball interview gone wrong, Donald Trump said, oh, restaurants are bursting in D.C. It turns out that this is not true. Listen to what Trump said.
But Mr. President, now I'm doing something that I'm having such fun with because I'm helping people. I've made Washington, D.C. Just an incredible place. In literally 4 days, I have friends that say they're going out to dinner. Did you see what's happening with the restaurants? They're bursting. Yes, they're all closing and going bankrupt. I mean, it would be. It would be great. There's a guy named Sean Hannity. He might take a very lovely young lady that he knows very, very well to dinner in Washington, and they don't have to. And she's sitting right next to you, by the way.
That's right.
But
Mr. President,
I don't want to get him in trouble, so I better explain exactly. We don't want any secrets here. But that's the greatest relationship. I hope I'm not breaking any news.
See, why are the okay, first of all, he's not saying shit, but okay, I guess we have to listen to this because they have to fucking call him out on it.
This could be the most important thing I said. But let me tell you, those are two great, Ainsley and Sean, great people. And when they go out to dinner, I don't want to see them get mugged. Now they can go out.
So listen, Trump says...
Are you serious? You subjected us to 1 minute and 2 seconds of that piece of shit talking out of his ass? And you didn't even get to the point where they called him out? Fuck you, David Pac-Man. Now we're not going to watch the rest of your video. Go fuck yourself, you douchebag. What the fuck was that all about? Flag burning. Which, by the way, is not only protected under the First Amendment during a Supreme Court ruling when I was fucking born, but it's also the proper way to dispose of the American flag. You can't get rid of flag burning. It's literally the flag code to burn the flag when it needs to be retired. Now, sure, fine. It's not pleasant to be an American citizen, go to a protest, and have your patriotism hurt when you see people burn the flag. I would never burn the flag, and I am vehemently against burning the flag. because I believe in the flag. I believe in what this stands for, or rather, should stand for. What I felt it stood for when I enlisted in the military. It's why I'm still in politics, because I'm fighting for the honor and the integrity of what this flag can and should stand for. So I'll never burn it, and I will never advocate burning it. But I definitely understand why people would, and why people do. And trying to criminalize that is no different than criminalizing any other First Amendment right, or trying to intimidate or threaten it. And now he's trying to criminalize the flag burning while also making it impossible to pay bail for getting arrested for flag burning, i.e. protesting, i.e. dissenting, i.e. that is where this shit is happening. Me being on this stream, giving the middle finger to Trump will eventually be a crime. But because he already did all the executive orders and people were very quick to support it and enforce it, now if I go to prison, I'm going to have to pay $6,000 in bail for the felony charge of calling the president a piece of shit, rather than getting my own recognizance for exercising my First Amendment right. That, folks, is why all of these antics are a fucking problem. All of them. They all compound each other. They all exacerbate each other. ICE terrorizing American citizens is outside of their jurisdiction, but because they have extrajudicial authorities based on whatever the fuck they decide that day, it's okay. Oh, shucks, sorry, you were a citizen. You were brown, so we didn't believe you. And then we detained you anyway against your will because Obama made sure we fucking could. Oh, and none of the courts or other watchdogs or checks and balances that exist are doing that because, by the way, we were only created in the past 20 years, and there isn't actually oversight over ICE. He made DC an incredible place in 3 days. LOL. Not that that's bad, but because it's Trump, I'm still hating. Be careful with lighting your cigar near that flag behind you. Yeah, right. What if I accidentally... I wouldn't. But apparently. I love what people have said. You can't have real crime stats in a couple of weeks. That's like saying there's no crime in my neighborhood because there are no crimes happening right now. Well, that, and they're also purporting that they've made all these arrests. And it's like, no, you've terrorized homeless people, took all their stuff and threw them in prison. I hate David, but he was going to show when they called Trump out. Okay, well, fuck him. He should have done that sooner. That's the first rule of making a video. You definitely lead up to what it is you're trying to show, but then you actually fucking deliver on it. The reason you cannot burn an American flag might be the best reason to burn it. I kind of like the aesthetic of the American flag. Well, I know you're not an American, and I know most Europeans don't have any real care one way or another about their flag other than as a symbol and representation of their country. But in America, it's a big fucking deal. And I can't explain it to you unless there is something in the Netherlands that if it were destroyed in front of you would shake you to your core. Now, we can joke about the Italians and breaking spaghetti noodles, but to a degree, burning the American flag has the same knee-jerk societal reaction as breaking spaghetti in Italy. It's a taboo. It's a straight-up faux pas. It's a thing that you just do not do in Italy. It might be a goofy, silly one that we can joke about and make memes of, but it's no less true. And the flag burning is that for here. I was born in a U.S. colony that has been extremely abused by the U.S., so I have no love for the flag. But I don't see the point of burning it in the U.S. It still shouldn't be illegal. Correct. It shouldn't be illegal at the end of the day. And there are plenty of people that have every single right to not like the flag. Especially indigenous people who have been terrorized for as long as there have been white people on this continent. So they definitely have no reason to love the flag. Granted, if an indigenous person wants to burn the flag, I'm not going to stop them. I'm not even going to say a word negative about it. I will probably pat them on the back because that is actually them resisting occupation. So The only cadre of people that I would actually support burning the flag are those who are indigenous and those who are technically colonized, which would be our territories. So you were born, Anna, in Puerto Rico, right? That was the U.S. colony. If you wanted to burn the flag, I could understand that because you are from a colony. It's not called that, of course, but that's what it is. I could understand it. But even you understand that as much as you might be justified, it wouldn't serve the political purposes of recapturing the soul of this country from the sociopathy that is going on right now. And that's the point that I'm trying to make with the flag burning. You can be angry, you can be disgusted, but it's also up to you to determine what does that flag represent. And for indigenous people, it represents hate and genocide. Okay, not going to ask you to change that. For people who were born in the territories, same thing. I'm not going to argue that. But for the rest of us that were not born in the territories and were not indigenous, that flag is up to us to determine, to either earn back the trust of those that we've harmed with it, or to turn it into a different symbol, or to retire it and come up with a new symbol that we can all get behind. One that doesn't instill any other thought other than unity. And you know what? If that's the case, if that's what ends up happening, then so be it. But for now, that flag to the citizens, to the people, to those who are trying to become citizens, who weren't occupied and who weren't genocided, that flag represents a future and a hope and a promise that was written in 1776. And so, I will fight for that hope and that promise. But I fully respect and am aware of the fact that that hope and promise is not reflected to all people who see this flag. So if at some point in the future we have to come up with a new design, a different representation of what this country is, then so be it. But that's a whole different ballgame. I hope that kind of makes sense. Could care less if someone burns a Dutch flag. Maybe the worst thing about it for me would be that it's bad for the climate, even though I like the Netherlands. I find nationalism really scary, though. So many Nazi-like people. Right. That is the problem currently with this flag, is that it is often used for nationalist purposes rather than unification purposes. And I'm talking unification of ideology and a society, not, oh, we're going to colonize and genocide the shit and take that stuff. That's unity in the social sense. Many years ago, I went to a boxing match at Madison Square Garden. One of the boxers was Puerto Rican. Many Puerto Ricans were throwing their flags on the ground after the fight because the Puerto Rican fighter lost. I was interviewed by Univision because I was still waving my Puerto Rican flag. I said that I wasn't going to throw my flag on the ground because some boxer lost a fight. That's just stupid. Exactly. Patriotism, right? And if your patriotism is represented by that flag, even better. It's when that flag is being used as a weapon, much like the Bible is used as a weapon, or authority is used as a weapon, or the Constitution, for that matter, being used as a weapon. Anything that is meant to build hope and support in community being used as a weapon is the problem of the person using it as a weapon, not the thing itself. The Bible isn't an evil document. I mean, I guess some people would argue otherwise, but fundamentally, it's just a religious text, one of many. But the fact that the Catholic Church waged war for the past 1,500 years because of that book is a fucking problem. And the church is a problem because of it, because to this very day, they wage ideological, spiritual war against anyone that challenges the book. Let's see. Fun fact, I was born in the year of the bicentennial. What does that even mean? Sounds cool, though. The 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Anna, don't let her fool you. She wasn't born on the 200th anniversary. She was born in the BC version of the 200th anniversary. She's a vampire. Or a member of the Fae, because she can go out in sunlight. I have witnessed it. All right. Flag burn.
Flag is one of your top DC daily headlines for August 26. Is burning the U.S. flag a crime? President Trump signing an executive order to put anyone burning the flag in jail for a year, saying it, quote, incites riots. But a 1989 Supreme Court decision ruled that burning the flag is protected as free speech under the First Amendment, saying flag burning alone does not equate to fighting words. The court, though, was extremely divided on that decision, with hardline conservative Justice Antonin Scalia.
Are you shitting me? This lady is actually doing her job on reporting on the law, the legality, and the history of the law and the legality. And she's still doing the work of the propaganda, saying, well, but it was a very controversial split decision. Fucking Christ. Please just do your job. Or is that the eyes of a woman that has literally this in the background? Of course I'm stuck. Is somebody, like, right off the screen pointing at her, and so she's like, and it was a very controversial decision. Unfucking believable.
Flag burning is an expression, quote, that tyrants would seek to suppress. While liberal Justice John Paul Stevens said when it comes to the U.S. flag, burning it, quote, makes those rules inapplicable. Attorney General Pam Bondi said that prosecuting people for burning the flag could be done without violating the First Amendment.
How?
President Trump wants to change the name of the Defense Department back to the War Department. The president saying he doesn't want the department to be defense only, but defense and offense. The Department of War was established in 1789. The name was changed, though, after World War II to Department of Defense in 1949. President Trump said that he is firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in a social media post on Monday night. Cook has been accused of mortgage fraud and says the president does not have the authority to fire her, and she has no plans to step down. Now, this could lead to a legal battle in court. It could impact the stock market and could lessen the Fed's political independence. The president continues to push the nation's central bank to lower the interest rates. A decision on rates, though, is expected when the Fed meets next month.
And you are taking a lot.
This? So, we want news networks to provide our videos because they're the ones providing actual information. If we just have influencers and content creators do it, then they're just going to give their opinions and their speculation, and they're not going to quote sources. They're not going to provide sources. Or there's no evidence of the source itself. But when we listen to the journalist speak, the journalist, instead of doing their fucking job, capitulates to the whims of the administration or the narrative that doesn't get them fired. Which, again, means we don't have a free press. So that brings us to this question. What are we to do as a country, as a society, if the truth is a crime, speaking out can be punished, and dissent is being criminalized? Through very clear, very, very overt hints of violence to follow if you do these things. I'm running out of ideas. I'm running out of suggestions. But I am certain what we're doing today, streaming, social media, talking about these things, discussing these things, having these very open conversations, is certainly in the right direction. It's just a question of how much longer can we even have those conversations before other actions need to be taken. What those actions might look like, I don't know. We could be doing protests. We could be doing general strikes. I would really love the general strike because I don't want to go to work. Who wants to go to work for capital, right? I don't. There's the demonstrations. There's town hall occupations. There's wasting ICE agents' time by putting Mexico stickers on your car. There's disrupting city and state activities and proceedings. Anytime you're in a jury setting, right? If you get called for jury duty for crimes such as protesting and dissent, you could all agree to unanimously find them not guilty. We could undermine the criminal justice system. There are any number of things we could do according to the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. It's just a question of which of those things should we do that will be most effective. But very clearly, we cannot rely on the free press. That's very clearly one of them. The next video is about somebody already getting arrested today for burning the flag. Outstanding. Unconstitutional does not even have any weight behind it at this point. Correct. Which is a major, major fucking problem. Do Americans care about if something is unconstitutional? Only if it's unconstitutional being committed by the person that isn't on your team. So Republicans don't give a shit that Trump is doing unconstitutional things, but they give a whole lot of fucks if Biden or Kamala or Pelosi or any of these other Democrats do something unconstitutional. Conversely, when Biden was in power, he did a bunch of shit that was unconstitutional, and Democrats didn't give a damn. So no, if your party's in power, you don't give a damn. Anna already said that too. Go figure. Man cannot believe the USA got people on the moon and a moron like Trump is the president. Please, smart, emphatic people lock in. I mean, I'm trying to lock in. That's what this stream is about. That's what these props are for. That's why I got our stick here. That's why we're talking about things. That's why I go off the rails. I am trying to be as locked in as possible. Do you think there's a bigger plan of the Trump administration that is taking place or all spontaneous decisions? No, this is all Project 2025, a 900-page document that outlines the same exact federal takeover as Mein Kampf did for the Nazis. That guy burning the U.S. flag was kind of cool, though, that video of the 20-year veteran. Right. When a veteran burns a flag, you know you done fucked up. If I were ever in a position where I felt morally and ethically driven, compelled to burn an American flag, shit has hit the absolute fucking fan. They were always screaming about Obama, a black Democrat, doing unconstitutional shit. Not in my country. Exactly. That's the next video, the veteran burning the flag. Okay, well, is that this video? Yep.
Live look here that is over in Washington, D.C. Now, we are learning a little bit more about the crime crackdown there in D.C., as it does appear that the first homicide has been reported in several days. We also want to talk just a little bit more about a man who torched an American flag in protest being arrested. So much to discuss here. Let's bring in Fox 5 DC's Stephanie Ramirez joining us live outside the White House. And Stephanie, obviously a very busy morning here.
A busy morning indeed, and actually just within seconds we did have some National Guard members arrive on scene, so you might see them behind me here. It looks like they're picking up trash right now at Lafayette Park. We are just outside of the White House.
Yeah, good
All
for
right,
them
now in
for
terms
picking up
of
the trash, but they shouldn't be there in the first fucking place.
Federal takeover. We know the Trump administration has been touting the takeover federal surge as the reason why D.C. crime has not only dropped in the district, but the reason why we've seen nearly 2 straight weeks of no homicides. But that did change. We learned within the past hour that D.C. police did have a fatal shooting in the southeast neighborhood of the district where a man...
Which is where the National Guard isn't.
Was shot just before 12:30 in the morning and ended up dying of his injuries. Southeast, unfortunately, an area that is often plagued by crime. Now, moving on, and the president...
And they're not reporting that. Can you fucking please do your fucking job? A man was murdered in a high crime area, which is exactly where the National Guard isn't, despite the National Guard not needing to be there in the first place, but especially not in the actual places where maybe they could have actually done some use as a deterrent or gotten themselves killed, as the case may be.
Into his focus on DC crime, the federal surge, and the focus on the administration of law and order, he did announce a number of new executive orders, and we saw an arrest connected to this. You were just talking about it. A man arrested outside of the White House yesterday evening at around 6:30. He burned an American flag, and we don't know his name. What's going on, though, is that the president had just announced an executive order essentially prohibiting the burning of American flags. And so we believe that this action was done in protest of that. We don't know the man's name. We don't know if his arrest is in connection with the executive order. Right now, Park Police are telling us that the charge or the violation that he was found to have committed here is called prohibited fire. We also don't know the man's name. What we are told is that he is an Army combat veteran.
Prohibited fire. See, this is the shit too. Even if they can't charge him from burning the flag in violation of the First Amendment, there's a law on the books that'll allow them to arrest him for this. And is that even a felony? No, it's probably a misdemeanor at fucking best.
Action burning the American flag in protest just hours after these executive orders. So again, the president leaning into what he's been focused on already here, issued these number of executive orders. One of them seeks to have anyone who burns or desecrates an American flag be prosecuted and spend a year in jail. And then there are other issues focused on, like, for example, requiring the Secretary of Defense to begin training and creating a specialized unit within the D.C. National Guard that can be deputized to enforce federal law.
That is literally against the law. You can't create a military force to engage with civilians. You can't do that. You certainly can't do that in a democracy. That is literally how democracies die. When you militarize the police forces. When you make the military the police force. We've already militarized our police forces, and look at where our democracy is. Good fucking God. How surprised would you be if Trump tomorrow said no more elections? I wouldn't. And in fact, most of what he has done regarding elections is alluding to the lack of elections that are going to happen. He's already talked about having ICE be at voting centers. He's already threatening to withhold election funds if cities and communities don't comply with his ridiculous DHS demands. All this National Guard shit, all of this National Guard shit is in anticipation of the general election in 2026. All right, so there's that. Again, who's going to go vote if there's a bunch of ICE agents and military at the voting booth? Oh, he's getting rid of mail-in voter ballots, which fuck every foreign deployed military member, right? Fuck all of them, and fuck anybody who's traveling, right? Fuck all of them. Fuck the elderly who can't leave their homes. Fuck the disabled. The list goes on. So no. The likelihood of us... Damn. The likelihood of us actually having elections, real elections, is really fucking slim. Some of these people are absolute traitors. Why did they not include his speech? Again, good question. He's already getting rid... Oh, damn, Anna, we share that one fucking brain cell. Guess it messes too much with the narrative they want to push. That is true. Well, that and the news isn't gonna air the speech. They're too busy licking the boots of the administration. It would have to be somebody who was there posting it on their own social media. Trump also said to his supporters that if he won in 2024, they'd never have to vote again. He did say that, and he also said something about trying to encourage Republican states to come up with another 100 seats in Congress. Now, I don't know if he meant just the House or if he was including the Senate in that. And I don't know if that was in a video that you're about to cover here. Well, actually, we did really good on covering all the shit. I'm sorry, all the stuff on the list What did I want to do? When exploiting the poor backfires. How buy now, pay later makes billions.
I want to buy your house.
Free
I can pay you cash for your house, no matter what condition it's in.
Bowl dinner on DoorDash comes to $41, but thanks to Klarna, you can make 4 payments of $10.40 over the course of 6 weeks instead. The buy now, pay later industry, or BNPL, has exploded as an alternative to credit cards.
We really believe the credit card industry is going the way of the VHS tape.
But will BNPL actually dethrone credit cards? Or will they ultimately just be treated like credit cards? This is the economics of buy now, pay later.
Didn't this already backfire for them? In the sense that, didn't a couple of these guys already go bankrupt because so many people weren't able to pay back the pay later part? Because if you are so financially desperate that you have to do payments for dinner, for fucking pizza, you don't have the money to pay for that pizza regardless. And it's kind of, this is, it's an 8-minute video. When was this made? 2 weeks ago. Okay. Here's the thing. Remember how boycotts work? If you don't buy at the company, they just start losing money and then they eventually go bankrupt, right? That's the idea of a boycott. Or they change their policies and then you don't have to boycott them anymore. Because goddamn, I still miss my Starbucks. Klarna is an inadvertent example of an effective boycott. You used a product service. You didn't actually follow through on the terms and conditions of that product service. And before they could hold that against you, they just completely got decimated because the people above them, the banks that they were borrowing from, came to collect and was like, we're not giving you an extra 30 days. We want our money now. Oh, you don't have it? Well, then we'll take everything that you do have. Which means, effectively, if we didn't pay our taxes, if we didn't pay our rent, if we didn't pay our bills, if we just didn't buy into capitalist society, it would collapse. All of these parasitic, insidious industries, credit cards, landlords, utilities, all of it. Banks. Did I already say banks? Because I want to say banks again, and landlords. If we just didn't pay them, they wouldn't function. And we already know that landlords live our paycheck to our next paycheck. Most landlords cannot afford to go a single month without the rent being on time. And that's the fucking point. We actually are the backbone of the economy. We're just being bled dry and kept desperate and sad and whatever else, instead of realizing like we could literally collapse this whole thing by not paying. Just not paying. If everybody didn't pay their mortgage, didn't pay their rent, didn't pay their loan, didn't pay their electric bill or their water bill, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? What are they going to do about it if we all just don't pay our taxes? What are they going to do? What if you're at the grocery store and you just let everybody just walk out the fucking door with their grocery carts and you just hand them plastic bags on their way out? What are they going to do? What's the company going to do? Fire everyone? Arrest you for walking out with hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of groceries? No. And that's the fucking point. Money isn't real. But we have been indoctrinated our entire fucking lives into believing that it is. Goods exist because we produce them. Services exist because we provide them. Period. Dot. End of story. There is no reason that any transaction need occur. None. You could go to the grocery store, grab your regular groceries, and walk out the fucking door. No money need ever exchange hands. No interaction should ever take place. If anything, The only reason why you would even bother scanning your groceries is to let the production know that, hey, there are this many less units here. You might want to create more. But again, is it necessary for a medium of exchange to occur? No, it is literally bookkeeping. It is literally logistics. So, next time you see these buy now, pay laters, recognize that effectively you never have to pay later. Effectively. But realistically, unless we all do that collectively, that might end up burning you. But the economy that I want to build under Ronanism will be such that we are entitled to everything that we create, and we determine what that value is. And yes, there will be a medium of exchange for the initial time being until we get used to the concept that we do not need it. And then we slowly start transitioning it away, except for international exchange. Obviously, with international trade, they still care about the medium of exchange, so we will participate in the medium of exchange, and we will price things according to global economics, but we are not going to participate in capitalism. And that's the reason why we don't fucking have to. Well, we had Klama in the USA because it went under. Tons of teens here get in debt because of Klarna. Fucking devils, man. Exactly. It's also, there's a reason why kids shouldn't have access to credit cards or debt, or why, again, money is irrelevant because the kids just want fucking snacks. Who fucking cares? Give them the fucking snacks. My coworker's 14-year-old daughter that doesn't even have a permanent job is $500 in debt. It's insane. Debt is a medium of control. That's all currency is. That's all economics are. Is a means to control those without the means of controlling the debt. Right? Capital. That's it. If you have it, great. If you don't, you are now going to be suffering because of it. And that's a problem. That's just an unnecessary amount of bullshit. Now my coworker, who is a single mom, is having to help her pay. Again, exacerbating the issues of capital. This is like the classic, what are they going to do if everyone does not come to school tomorrow? Exactly. That's the basis of senior skip day. Exactly. Same thing with the government. Exactly. We are all on the same page here. And I can do that with my left hand. It doesn't get scary with the left hand. They're letting people use Affirm and others pay later companies to pay for plastic surgery. My question is, say you get the plastic surgery. What are they going to do if you don't pay? Take your tits back out? Your ass back out? Also, say you don't pay for the burger or the pizza. What are they going to do? Make you vomit it up? Unshit it out? Like, they're not thinking about this. See, this is the stage of capitalism, right? We always talk about the stages of capitalism. It's all capitalism. But, much like dying, there are stages of death. And this is the stage of death of capitalism where it just throws everything and everything at the wall that it can think of to extract resources from people without thinking of any consequences under their own rule set. You can only make capital if people are able of providing the capital of which you can extract from them. But if you can't extract the capital because they are unable to provide the capital, then you've given them a good and service for free that you have no means of recouping. And what happens when you run out of capital? You die. Now, granted, a person dies. A business just goes bankrupt and disappears, and then some other fucking idiot tries to do it again in the future. So. Oh, I guess they could. All right, well, that would be disturbing. But imagine, because then wouldn't you have to pay for the surgery to have them taken back out? So wouldn't you just be in double debt and not have your double Ds anymore? But they can't resell them like they could a car or a house. That's why I hate that motherfucker so much. And yeah, you would. So, I just realized, well, first of all, we actually made it through most of our playlists. So, well done, Anna. And well done me for being able to stay on track. We made it to the end of the stream. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for joining us and being a part of the solution and joining the Ronan Revolution. Today was What the Fuck America Tuesdays. Tomorrow is Worldwide Wednesdays, and Thursday is Recap Thursdays, where we recap all the crazy shit that has still happened within the past 48 hours. We stream Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. We are welcoming and open to having discussion, debates, discourse of any sort from all countries over the world, but we do not tolerate intolerance. So with that being said, this is your 48th President, Samuel Ronan, bidding you all adieu and good night.